for Jonathan Taylor. There he goes again. 50, 40, down the far sideline. He might do it again. 10, 5, touchdown. I-N-D-Y.
Eastern Conference Championship has been captured by the Indiana Pacers.
Alex Pillow wins the 109 Indianapolis 500.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Woo! Good morning and welcome into a chilly edition of the Fan Morning Show. It was 8 degrees when I was driving in a little while ago. Good news, though. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton, everybody is here. And, Mark, I don't know if you saw this. James Boyd got here at like 20 minutes in front of 7 this morning.
Very impressive.
I was digging that, man.
Hey, it reminds me of when I was in college. I had a teacher that told me if I ever showed up late, because I showed up late to this class every single time, and he told me for the final, you show up late, you can't take it, and I showed up 20 minutes early. He was like, so you can't be on time? And I said, yes, when I'm incentivized.
All right, so it appears as if like the main arteries have at least been plowed. I wouldn't say they're fantastic, but they're certainly passable. Go a little bit slower this morning, leave a little bit earlier. You know the drill. You've been through it before. You don't need to hear it from me. But overall, thoughts, did it feel like Snow-mageddon, or what do you think of the whole thing, Kevin? You've been through this a few times, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw a stat where it was the most snow we've had in 11 years. I would say the commute probably backs that up. I'd say a little less than double the time for me. Side streets are dicey. I was coming down Meridian, and actually an Indigo bus was stuck on Meridian, so I had to go over to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was pretty fine. So, I mean, if you're on Meridian, if you're on Pennsylvania, there's snow, and the turn lanes are definitely a little ugly. But outside of that, I thought it was fine. Nothing too crazy. If you don't need to be out today, don't. If you need to go in, you can do it, but prepare for a little bit more time.
Give yourself extra time like your boy.
There you
and
go.
keep the shovel in the car. I got the shovel in the passenger seat right now.
Look at you. Mark Dykton, we put you up in a hotel all weekend long. You had work to do.
No, last night you did. Yeah, it was. But yes, I was.
You were here all day yesterday, though, weren't you?
Yeah, I was helping out with the pairing show with Eddie Garrison. So he and I carpooled from the hotel over here, and I had a wool blanket in case we had a spoon, in case we got locked in here. But that was not the case, thank God. And made it to the hotel. Roads were awful coming in yesterday. They are much better today, but like Kevin and James and you have reiterated, just give yourself some extra time, because while the roads are plowed, not necessarily that you can see any street markings very well. So
yeah,
be careful out there.
Like you were talking about Meridian, Kevin. It's a one-lane road.
Don't think
on
you're
both
going to
sides
two-lane it up
at this point in time.
Right.
So keep that in mind. And now you've got this horrific image in my head, Mark, and I can't help but ask, who's the big spoon in that scenario?
We were going to play rock, paper, scissors, best 2 out of 3.
Good morning and welcome in. We have Super Bowl participants for Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara in a couple of weeks. The Seattle Seahawks win a thriller against the Los Angeles Rams, and I guess you could call it a snowfield thriller, James. New England outlasting, really, Denver in the Mile High City yesterday.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of football weather. I think I've made that clear, but a win is a win, and the Patriots win with their least amount of points they've ever had in a playoff victory. I believe they had 40 playoff wins in their franchise history, and that was, again, the lowest amount of points they've ever had in a win. 10 points. 10-7 victory. It all counts the same, and now you got Drake May versus Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl, and I believe, well, I know, whoever wins this game, the narrative on either quarterback is going to change drastically.
Don't we kind of have to change the narrative on Sam Darnold anyway? I mean, he's done this for 2 years in a row now with 2 different teams. I think he's kind of found himself, Kevin. He feels like a guy who's matured, knows what he's really capable of doing. He's got coaches that have confidence in him. He's got terrific wide receivers. Last year he had Justin Jefferson. This year he's got Smith and Jigba. It feels like he's kind of arrived, whether he wins or not. Kind of feels like he's arrived, doesn't it?
One last thing I'll add on the commute in. I feel like we have to mention this. Like, we're obviously commuting in at a time where there's not many cars, so there's no rules. Like, I just drive in the middle of the road. Like, the deeper you get,
I did the same thing. I ain't gonna lie.
The deeper you get in the day, there's more cars out there. Yeah. So just FYI for everybody out there, I probably goes without saying, but thought I would toss that in here. I mean, 2 great games. Obviously, the Darnold story. Minnesota, I think, is where the Resurrection Project is like, hey, you can be something, and then he walks into Seattle, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is the best receiver in the league. And a guy that I don't fantasy football players probably realize him a lot, but I don't know if I give him enough credit as one of the better backs in the league is Kenneth Walker.
Whew, he was good yesterday.
I mean, some of the plays he made after contact, even like that touchdown run he had, like that was not a given there to start the game, and yet on a 3rd and goal, he gets the edge there and scores. So, you don't get thrilling playoff games often where it's a scoreless 4th quarter, but I would call yesterday's game thrilling. I thought it was terrific, and the Rams have this great 4th quarter drive, and they get on the doorstep, and then boom, Seattle makes big time plays there on 3rd and 4th and goal. Hell, even the end, did Puka Nacua get out of bounds? Is there going to be a little Hail Mary action from Matthew Stafford and company? So, 2 very different games. I thought 2 super entertaining games, and I probably speak for everyone in this area code in this market. Fly Hawks Fly, or whatever the hell their nickname is.
All I know is the 12th man better be out, I guess, because clearly the Patriots have not had enough Super Bowl success, right? It's crazy that they're back there again. First year for Mike Vrabel, correct? So that's crazy to think about. Your first year as a head coach with the franchise, and you're going to the Super Bowl. Drake May, your 2nd year in the NFL, you're going to the Super Bowl. And again, they're tied, I believe, with the Steelers for the most Super Bowl victories ever, with 6. A chance to go for 7. But as a Patriots hater told me, and a Colts fan yesterday, they were like, hey, while you're pointing out they could get an NFL record 7 Super Bowl victories, they could also set the NFL record for Super Bowl losses. So respect to that man.
I like weather games myself. Maybe it's because I grew up in Colorado. I find it just adds a different element of mental toughness and things that don't obviously exist. And you and I were talking about this about 15 minutes ago, James. Everybody talks about, there's home field advantage for Colorado. Well, I got news for you. In the Northeast, New England has played in conditions just like that many times. And if you want to talk about home field advantage down south, there's times you go down in September and early October, it could be 90 degrees and 90% humidity in places. There's a lot of teams from the north aren't used to that. To me, it's just weather is part of the deal.
Yeah, I don't what's the way around it? I don't. Is this really a debate? Is this really a storyline?
I guess it's more so like what we were talking about last week with the teams building domes, and we're not going to get a lot of this, I don't know, 15 years from now.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I think it'll probably go away over time. But I like the drama, the spectacle, the viewing. I knew that once my team was down 10-7 and they missed that field goal, it was kind of blocked, or at least a guy got a finger on it at the very end for New England. Nice play. But I kind of knew at that point in time, the way things gone, that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely fair to be critical of Sean Payton and not, trying to get that 10-0 lead early, when they went for the 4th and 1 there, because, to me, with your defense and a backup quarterback, you build a 2-score lead. And I know it sounds crazy, but these NFL coaches, they do, and they better think of everything. And if you're Sean Payton throughout the week and you're awaiting 3 o'clock kickoff, 1 o'clock local time, you have some person in your football department that is alerting you of what that forecast could and will look like.
Yes, you have a weatherman.
You see teams often handle coin tosses via the wind. Mm-hmm. They do consciously think about that aspect of the game. So, even if you didn't think the snow was going to be to the level that it was, certainly it was very windy. I mean, watch those field goal kickers trying to operate there. And to me, with a backup quarterback, you go up 2 scores and that type of defense. I mean, think about it. The only Patriots drive that mattered in the game was the one that Jarrett Stidham, gave a little 2-handed shove to try and get that ball out.
I'll have nightmares about that one for a while. But, hey, you know what? Drake May has had a tremendous season somehow, some way with that defense. And I thought Ramondre Stevenson, thank you, had a really nice day running the ball yesterday. It was effective, not dominant, but effective. And sometimes you got to win games like that, ugly games where it's just kind of a dogfight and you just got to find a way to survive. And so you got New England and the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And the other thing I wanted to touch on real quick before we get too far into it for folks that are just driving in the car and might not listen to us later, how about the Pacers on Friday night? What a fun game that was.
Yeah, Jarris Walker, outstanding, less than 2 weeks before the trade deadline. A ton we can get to with that game. Tyrese Halliburton not going to Oklahoma City for the first time all year. He doesn't travel to a road game. By the way, if you are locked into the Pacers schedule. They will tip much earlier today due to the weather. It's 1:30, the tip time here. Are we carrying that, I assume?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so no Jake, is that right?
You have Jake for 1 hour from noon to 1. Then you have the pregame. Then the Pacers will play Atlanta. Then you'll have Eddie White's postgame. And then around 4:45-ish, 5, you'll have JMV until 7 tonight. Then you'll have Inside IU at 7 o'clock.
So we're the only ones really working today. How about that?
Yeah. Well, John's going to be probably 2.5-hour show, something like that.
Yeah,
He's working.
let's not give him any
Statement
credit
still
here.
stands true.
Yeah.
He was trying to bully me into coming to play basketball yesterday.
And you
I
didn't
told
go
him-
yesterday?
I was like, brother. I mean, I got out there a little bit, and you know, the first car you see in a ditch, and the common sense starts to kick in. Like, ball is not that serious. So yeah, hit the
not
U-turn.
life?
Ball is not life. You know, when I was a kid with no bills and no responsibilities, it was everything. But now I'm like, if I end up in a ditch, the reaction I will have with myself and then anybody else around me, and the excuse I will give I believe some police officer or some service worker, yeah, I was going to play basketball. They're going to look at me like, you idiot. So yeah, I set that one out.
Well, you turned around, but if that was Keaton Wagler, he would have kept on going, right? Especially if Mackie Arena was in his distance.
Boy, I got a text from Todd Meyer. He was not pleased with his Boilermakers, but I was pleased with him.
There you go. One other thing, I'm sure a lot of people had to go through something similar with the weather this weekend. I don't think either one of you guys. Do you have pets, Kevin?
No.
I do not.
We've got a Shetland sheepdog, and the snow was just tall enough that he couldn't really do his business. Right, he just goes out there and it's kind of halfway over him. So I actually had to go out yesterday twice and at least make a little bit of a path and a little square so he could at least get his business done, man. So I did have to do a little
Real
bit
love.
yesterday.
Between pets and kids, I'm like, man, I can keep waiting a little bit.
When we were kids, we used to love this kind of weather. We go out, although it was really cold yesterday. My kid, no interest in going out in the snow whatsoever. Probably
Yeah,
smarter
I
than
don't
we
think
were.
the temps were too. And
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
the temperatures, yeah.
Mark did it yesterday. I mean, trying to drive yesterday was no joke.
Yeah.
Are there
Not
any
at all.
schools open today, by the way?
No.
Everything's got to
Yeah.
be closed, right?
Some online learning. I know
We
that
canceled early
Yeah.
yesterday. It was
Okay.
like in the afternoon. And honestly,
and
making
online don't get me started. E-learning is it ruins childhood.
E-learning kick rocks. No, let the kids have a snow day. for
right,
God's
snow
sake.
days. That's part of the American experience.
I've got my oldest son has a true snow day. The youngest has an asynchronous day, and he was not happy about that last
Oh my
night.
gosh! And boy, if
He
I
did
was
not
his
dig
brother,
that.
I'd be rubbing it in too.
I would
Mark,
tell them my
and I always think
Wi-Fi's
about-
down. I can't do anything. Sorry, teach.
Mark, I think about like the parents of elementary age kids. Like it's one thing for Jeff's age group, Jeff's kids, to like
Yeah, they're high
do an
schoolers.
e-learning.
Right.
You know, they can open up their laptop and log on and you
Yeah.
know participate. You want your second grader to hop on Zoom and all of a sudden figure it out, or your kindergartner to
Right.
raise their hand in Zoom and
Wait,
chime
that's a
in.
thing?
There. I mean, e-learning for elementary schools.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing for elementary schools. Oh my goodness!
I don't know
Right.
if Brownsburg does it. If they do, they haven't instituted it yet this year. But yeah, I've heard horror stories in the past where kids
It
like
sounds like I need to run for mayor
active
and
on
change some
Zoom
things
and
around
they're
here.
playing Fortnite in the background anyways. It's like, what's the point? Just give them a snow day for God's sake.
All right, we'll give you the check down in a moment here. Like I said, it's still cold. Roads, the main ones, have been plowed. I wouldn't say they're ideal, but they're doing okay. You can get through them. Just go a little bit slower. You know the drill. We've all been through this before. We'll talk about all of it next as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Good morning, and get ready for a slower commute today. It's obviously still cold. You all know the drill. I won't get into it too much. I will tell you that we have Super Bowl participants. Super Bowl 60, Kevin Bowen, will be the next Sunday, so we know we're almost waiting 2 weeks as always. Seattle against New England in Santa Clara. It's a 5-point early line in favor of the Seahawks. What's your initial first blush thought?
Well, again, I think in this market, it's a lot of Seahawks fans here in the 317. So, excuse me.
Don't get so choked up about it. Jeez.
Emotional.
I think I'll take the reins on this one. Kevin, get some water there, brother. We won't need you keeling over here on the show. That's not good radio. But I will say, yes, to Kevin's point, a lot of Seahawks fans here in Indianapolis because, of course, you don't want the arch rival Patriots get another Super Bowl like they haven't won enough.
Patriots win a snow game against the Broncos in Denver, 10-7 the final score there. Ramondre Stevenson had 71 yards, and Drake May made enough plays. There were times he looked like the Denver defense was in control, but he made some plays with his legs, particularly in one big pass. He made plays when he needed to.
Yeah, the bootleg at the end, of course, is probably the one that everybody will point to there. But, yeah, I mean, it was just a wild game. I mean, CBS did, I thought, such a great job of, looking at the split screens of what it was like second quarter versus what it was like in the fourth quarter. And, again, if you're a Denver fan, I think you continue to go back to not taking that field goal earlier in the second quarter there. What could a two-score lead with the weather changing could have done for you, considering their defense was, so great all season long. It was great yesterday again. Not
only that, you make that field goal, you're up 10-0. I wonder if you're a little more conservative in your own end with the football later in the first half, too.
Yeah, that was just idiotic by Stidham. I don't put that on play calling or anything like that. That was just a horrible play by their quarterback.
In the NFC, the Seahawks advanced with a 31-27 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Sam Darnold, 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. Was out-dueling Matthew Stafford, 374 yards and 3 touchdowns, but Stafford couldn't make a completion on 4th and goal at the end of the game.
Yeah, tough. I mean,
near the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought that he played pretty well, gave him a chance to win, but that Seattle team is no joke, and I thought Sam Darnold probably had the best game of his life, considering the stakes and how well he played. 3 touchdown passes, over 300 yards passing, and no turnovers. And on top of that, that defense is for real, boy. But nobody was probably happier with that Seahawks win and Tariq Woolen, who had the most idiotic taunting penalty ever in that game.
What do you think Colts fans were thinking as they watched Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold duel yesterday?
We don't have a quarterback or a defense on that level. Seriously.
Didn't want to pony up for Stafford several years ago when he was available.
Hindsight's 20/20, I guess.
All right. Oh, that's what we do here on the radio. We do hindsight better than anybody.
I know. I mean, I'm trying not to depress too many Colts fans out there, but yeah, that wasn't a good feeling watching that game.
My timeline was full of Colts fans with looking back yesterday.
You and me broke,
man.
brother.
All right. Also, while we're talking about football, the Indiana Hoosiers had their victory rally for the championship that they have earned. That was this past Saturday as tens of thousands braved the cold and wind-chill temperatures to get down to Memorial Stadium. And that thing kept going and going and going. They had everybody speak, Kevin. There was a minute there I was worried, are we going to get some folks with just icicles hanging off their ears at the end?
Yeah, it felt awful, frankly, that celebration wasn't bigger for that football team, and obviously Mother Nature was the one that played into that team deserved more than a, Kennesaw State fourth quarter crowd there.
It was probably 25,000, don't you think?
Right. And that should be a full stadium to honor, one of the best teams ever. So unfortunately, Mother Nature didn't help out. And to quote Maddie Bowen at one point, she goes, "This is painfully awkward. Can we turn the channel?" I think that was when John Cougar tried to get not Elijah Surratt, not Omar Cooper, not Jamar. I forget which player he was on, hoping and praying that the Hurt So Good lyrics would resonate. And I don't think it did.
Also, Kurt Signetti.
Did you watch, Mark?
No.
At the very end on Big Ten Network, they were interviewing Kurt Signetti after the rally. Poor guy was so cold, he literally couldn't move his mouth.
Nice haircut for Sig. He was high and tight.
He was.
I was hoping he'd give us a drop the mic moment. He didn't really go, these championship parades, celebrations, however you want to say it. He was very quickly on to chapter 3, a.k.a. this upcoming season here. But Yeah, again.
Y'all got me out here in the cold and knocking me in the transfer portal right now.
Right, seriously.
Get my team together.
Weather just stunk, frankly.
If you want further proof that Fernando Mendoza is one of the brightest guys in the room, his entire speech lasted about 13 seconds.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Hoosier Nation. Playing in front of you guys has been one of the greatest privileges in my life. Thank you guys so much again. Myself, my teammates, we're forever in debt to you guys. God bless. Go Hoosiers. We're natty champs.
That's how you do it when it's less than 10 degrees outside right there.
Smart man. I feel like Kurt Cignetti's going to use this as motivation. You know what? We didn't have a chance to really celebrate. Let's win it again.
All right, we'll talk about college basketball throughout the day, but I will tell you that Indiana finally got off the schneid. They got a big win there. A tough loss for Purdue this past weekend. We'll talk about that.
Oh, yes, we will.
Butler's won 3 in a row. They beat Marquette on Friday night. And the city tournament. The finals are set, but they will not take place tonight at Tech. They will take place tomorrow night, James Boyd. They have moved that basketball game. Cathedral, Kevin, taking on Cecina in the city championship.
Secina.
No Cathedral.
Why do you know every school's chant?
Crusaders. First time they've been in the city championship in quite a while there. So always one of my favorite, Monday night sporting events back in the day to go over to Tech High School and watch the city championship. So yes, as you said, Jeff, that is Tuesday. I don't think Monday's typically not a very busy night. Obviously, we have IU Purdue tomorrow night, 9:00. I assume we're good to go there.
So far?
Because again, weirdly, the southern part of the state got hammered much more than the northern. Like IU Purdue women played yesterday at noon, no issue. Notre Dame men and women played, no issue over the weekend either. Both of those home games there. By the way, Purdue women.
I was just going to mention that.
Women
First time in 11 meetings, right?
Since 2019.
Ooh.
The IU women now 0-9 in the Big Ten this season.
That just came out of nowhere.
Grace Berger, I miss you.
So does Indiana. But yeah, nice win for the Purdue women, and they're playing pretty good basketball this year too. All right, anything else you guys want to throw in before we move along?
No, I just want to make sure we mention how Purdue lost.
Okay, we'll
Todd
talk
Meyer,
about it.
hope you're listening, brother.
Yeah, Pacers tip again 1:30 today for those that were expecting 7:30 for the final road trip. Final game of the road trip here, 1:30. That's Pacers Hawks. So if you're stuck inside today, a little afternoon hoop.
And I will give you all the details on that game and what today looks like as we continue in a moment at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Good morning. A little bit slower today and steady. That wins the race. A lot of people get to stay home today. I know most of the schools are closed or doing asynchronous learning, but checking on your individual school just to make sure. It is still going to be chilly. It's going to be cold for like the next 10 days, James Boyd. I don't think it's going to get above 20 degrees until sometime in February.
I'm just still stuck on this asynchronous learning. You know, I'm a God-fearing man, and that is a sin.
I've never heard that. Is that for like the smart kids? I just heard e-learning.
Yeah, e-learning, asynchronous. That's what they call it at some
All I know is like
schools.
synchronous swimming.
Yeah.
Synchronous swimmers.
Can I just like unplug my Wi-Fi if I'm a kid at home? Be like, oh, sorry, I can't join you.
Something tells me they probably tried that excuse already, and
What are they gonna knock on my front door?
I don't know. What is the recall for that or the protocol for that?
And boy, I'll tell you what.
You don't want to find out.
Good point.
I think we all have, kind of shared, and for those that are just joining us, definitely it's going to be a little longer on your commute in here on this Monday morning if you are having to go. And by the way, shout out to all of our essential workers,
Yes.
first responders, utility workers, AES. I mean, everybody. Like Jeff mentioned, it is freezing, and can you imagine having to deal with whatever, power line issue, car stranded, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. Driving in, I was struck by how many cars were snowed in. And like it's freezing, and getting those cars out here over the next day, 2 days, 3 days, like this thing ain't melting anytime soon.
No.
Based off the temps that I'm seeing.
It's going to be here for a minute. Shout out to my guy, Al, too. My driveway was done when I got out there at 5:45 this morning. How about that?
Who's Al?
So give some context for Al.
Al's my guy, man.
Can
Al,
I hand him my address? And
Is this like
Yeah.
a kid or is this
No.
a grown man? Is it
No,
give
he's
some
been-
context?
Are there
He's-
kids named Al these days?
he's been
That is a good point.
Little 4-year-old Al running around.
Alistair, maybe?
Al Avina. He's been doing road work for me since we moved here, like in 2013, and he gets it done, man.
Alavine, if you're looking to help a brother out, 50. Well, I probably shouldn't say my address on there.
Probably not a good idea. We kid each other about certain things sometimes, but don't do that, Kevin.
I'm in the one strip shovel, That's what I've done. Okay, do it. Can I make a strip for one tire mark? Can I make a strip for the other tire mark? Okay, I feel like I'm good there.
You got here. Got here. Hey, the weather is going to affect a bunch of sporting events. Obviously, we talked about the city championship going to be moved to tomorrow night at Tech High School. That'll be Cathedral and Cecina. But the Indiana Pacers, even though they're playing in Atlanta, they're having all kinds of weather issues with ice, particularly. So they're moving that one up to the middle of the day. So we will start our broadcast. This is what it's going to sound like. You get Jake Query from noon to 1 today. Then you'll have the Pacers pregame at 1. At 1:30, they'll tip off against the Hawks. Eddie White, as normal, will have the postgame show. And then JMV, 4:45-ish, 5 o'clock, will get you until 7 p.m. tonight. And then we'll have Inside IU Athletics at 7 o'clock, and then it's regular programming from there on out. So there are some changes, and that's what you do. You just do do your best when it's freezing outside. And like we talked about last week, a lot of those cities in the South, man, they don't have the infrastructure to deal with ice or any kind of real sub-zero temperatures.
So we have this comment from a YouTube listener, Mystery Science 615.
I
I teach at Kevin's Clay Middle School. Asynchronous means I post assignments for students to complete on their own time today.
Okay.
They don't have face-to-face time with me unless they request it.
Gotcha.
Boy, I have never
Go Trojans.
had
Trojans. Bon, bon, we're gonna win.
I've never had enough faith in myself to do anything on my own. You mean to tell me a teacher could just give me an assignment and tell me, oh, I expect you to get this done? Oh, it would never get done. On a day like today, when the PS5 is sitting right in front of me?
Yeah.
Oh, no chance.
I'd be like, oh, I didn't see it. Sorry.
No chance.
Missed it.
Butler Sledding Hill, Cool Creek Sledding Hill, Brookshire Hole 14 Sledding Hill. Find your local. Yeah, it would be tough. It'd be tough to say, and that's saying that as a son of two teachers. No offense to, I guess, one of my former teachers here. Shout out to the great Clay Junior High.
So I've got 2 kids in high school. What do you think the chances are that either one of them is up before 9 a.m. this morning?
I would say it's probably low, right? Because they probably didn't go to bed till 3.
I'd say the youngest, the chances are 0.
Yeah.
Oldest, he kind of wakes up around 7:30, 8 o'clock anyway.
Do you have the you got to get up hour for your high schoolers? Because my mom is like, when I was still living at home, she would not let you sleep past like maybe 10 a.m. because she's like, I'm paying bills around here, and I'm just not going to watch you just sleep all day. Get up and put some clothes on, take a shower, wash your butt, that type of stuff.
Well, the counter to that be if you're paying bills, at least I'm not using the water.
Hey.
If I'm just stuck in bed.
Let me just say this. There wasn't really, much debate here.
Not to question Mrs.
KB,
Boyd here.
It wasn't much questioning going on. It was do what I say, or else.
Boys, I don't know what you got watching that Saturday afternoon, but first off, that was a great college basketball game inside of Mackey. The shot making, both teams, unbelievable.
Where's the camera?
I don't, Carson Edwards had a few of those. And honestly, I got some Jalen Hood-Schifino vibes in Mackey watching what Keaton Wagler did. But James, not that you're diehard watching every Illinois game, but I didn't know he had that in him. I mean, I know he's had a good freshman year. Wasn't a very highly ranked recruit at all.
No.
But that dude hit some shots from Attica, Rensselaer. That was when he jab stepped Jakari Harris for the 4-point play. I had an audible reaction on the couch. I think Maddie thought I was having something or other going on there.
It was one of those days where you were shocked when he missed after a while.
Yeah, he only missed 4 shots on the whole afternoon. And it's funny you mentioned Carson Edwards, Kevin, because I remember covering a Carson Edwards game my senior year at Illinois.
I was going to say, at your guys' place, right?
And he came there and dropped 40. And I believe it was at the time the biggest road performance in X amount of years at State Farm Arena. And he hit so many threes and he dunked on everybody. He was like just a walking microwave, I felt like, for those Purdue teams back then. And seeing Keaton Saturday, Keaton Wagler, I just thought to myself, that's an NBA player. And that's why this game is even close. Because they ran so many different coverages at him, it just didn't matter. And he held serve and actually one-upped the best player, I believe, one of the best players in college basketball, in Braden Smith, because he wasn't any slouch either. I know he went down with the ankle injury, but he came back and he was cooking. So one of the best games probably in college basketball this year. I will say for Todd Meyer out there, as much as I want to talk trash, relax, brother. I don't think that Keaton Walker's going to score 46 every time you need him to at Mackey. He was texting me, Kevin, and telling me that it's doom and gloom. It's all over for Purdue. And it's like, relax. I mean, the guy had to have an all-time great performance to barely beat you all. And it's January, not March.
Yeah, I think I largely am there. But I will say this, and tomorrow night I think will be fascinating. Again, it's 9 o'clock. Brace yourself for that. Indiana hosting Purdue. Purdue having to guard the stretch big man. Go to the end of the UCLA game. Oscar Clough's having to fly out on that kid for UCLA, bangs home with 3. You look at Saturday, and Illinois is one of the few teams in college basketball, to be fair, that has the personnel to do it. But, you guys put 4 or 5 shooters out on the floor.
That's true.
Every time.
All of them hit a shot at the end of that game.
And if there's one thing Indiana can do, they can put shooters out there. And Tucker DeVries, maybe he's found a little bit of something. So tomorrow night, I am very, very fascinated by let's just call Oscar Clough and Sam Alexis a wash. They're 2, back to the basket guys. Trey Kaufman-Renn, Tucker DeVries. If you're going to list a starting lineup, you consider those guys the 4 men. They play the game very differently. Trey Kaufman-Renn, of course, is all around the basket and is a great, great scorer. Tucker DeVries he can't guard a chair and wants to pull you away from the basket. What's the give and take there? And I think that's kind of the general question for Purdue is, when you downsize, you're downsizing to like a Jack Benter. That's very different than last year. It was kind of Cam Heide or it was Miles Colvin. You could get away, I think, a little bit with a 6'7" guy, trying to chase potentially a shooter around the perimeter a little bit more. So I think that's kind of the question I have. Obviously, Purdue offensively, it's kind of crazy that they lose a game with 3 turnovers. Because that's been, I can hear Todd Meyer yelling right now. That's usually the issue when, Purdue has a lot, not even 3. When they sniff, 8, 9, 10, then it starts to get a little dicey there. Offensively, that wasn't an issue for them whatsoever. And just where's Braden Smith at ankle-wise? I mean, that adrenaline must have been pumping because once he came back in the game, his shot making was unbelievable.
Well, who is
the rest of the way?
I believe it's Stan Van Gundy or Jeff Van Gundy who always says that the basketball has healing powers. So whenever anybody goes down, they're writhing in pain. Oh, my God, I'm so hurt. And then, a few minutes go by, you touch the basketball. Oh, boy, I got a little more juice left.
No one epitomized that more than Lance Stevenson.
Oh, he was the funniest player and probably still is the funniest player I've ever seen in the NBA.
That ball was Motrin to a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing was just, as soon as he touched that thing, oh, man.
Didn't have a Lance Stevenson reference on my bingo card today, but I like it. I'm here for it. One of the things Matt Painter said, I was watching the post-game press conference. He was, just talking about Wagler and just amazing. But B, he was not happy with his team's rebounding performance in that basketball game.
No. Illinois got some huge offensive boards there late in that game that turned into some big shots. And that also seems to be a little bit of an issue for the Boilermakers. But again, we're talking about a team that's perennially one of the best in the Big Ten and has been as of late. It's just weird to know that the race at the top of the Big Ten is so tight. Because you look at who is in Nebraska still undefeated, and then you have Illinois, and then you have Purdue, and you got Michigan. And so, yeah, it seems like in a year where we're looking at Purdue to make a deep tournament run and get to the Final Four, they probably won't even win the Big Ten, which is crazy to say, but it's loaded right now.
A little update traffic-wise. This is from Marcus Bailey, Wish TV. Downtown I-70 West to I-65 North in the North Split is closed. Several spins and cars stuck in snow piles. And again, we're talking about one of the more populous stretches of a highway in Indianapolis, and it is closed. So if you don't have to go out today, don't. Trust me.
Listen to us instead.
When we did our morning commutes, there were no cars on the road whatsoever, and you could just drive in the middle of the lane. I get that that's not possible as the day moves along. So brace yourself if you do have to head outside.
It gives me like movie vibes. I feel like I'm like Will Smith and I Am Legend when I drive down the middle of the street. Like, hey, world's kind of, not awake yet. Let's get this thing done.
Andy S. texts in on the fan text line at 239-1070. Thumbs up to the cops who are out directing traffic to side streets. How about that? Love that. You had talked that. That's what he said. That's what Andy S. said, and you had talked about that a little bit too. Just all the people that are out doing stuff. Aaron, of course, from Minnesota says he loves blowing snow. He's in his element. He can't wait. So.
Well, Aaron from Minnesota is very fitting.
That's kind of how that works. The other thing I want to talk about is the Pacers on Friday night, because we've been waiting. And are we starting to see over the last few games and maybe since the calendar flipped over, are we seeing more from Jarris Walker now? I had a great game on Friday night. Is that more of who he's becoming now, Kevin?
I mean, he's definitely been much better here over the last couple of weeks. I don't think there's any denying that. I thought in particular Friday night, he drove it much better than he usually does. Considering his body type, I mean, to me, that part of his game should be there and needs to be there. So you want to talk about a guy that's playing probably the best basketball of his career at the right time. I mean, we're now, 10 days away from the trade deadline. We'll see about Benedict Mathurin this afternoon. The Pacers have upgraded him to questionable. I believe the thumb injury has sidelined him for the last 11 games. So, I think we're on Mathurin watch. Tony East going to join us here at 9 o'clock. I know there's been some reports out there about Mathurin to the Pelicans. And, I think Tony's done a really good job of the NBA world can be confusing. James, you know this full well. When it comes to trades, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to all that, it's not as black and white as the NFL.
Oh, no.
And I think there's a bit of a misconception on what Mathurin would net the Pacers. And so, hopefully Tony can kind of clear some of that up. By the way, Joel A. Erickson going to join us here in 15 minutes. I can only imagine Joel's wife's probably has to love us with 3 young boys in the house, and we're going to pull Joel away from that for 15 minutes here on this snow day.
You sound like you might have some experience in that realm.
Yeah, hand is raised.
Sorry, I've got to do an interview with JMV right now, right?
And the look on Maddie's face, deservedly so.
Cody texts in also, speaking of the Pacers, I'm sure they stick with starters of Halliburton, Drew, Aaron, Pascal, and the new center moving forward. But can they quickly pivot to a bigger, more versatile lineup with Walker, Furphy, DeBonsa, if they get him, or even Caleb Wilson from North Carolina coming in, as he's really starting to look towards the future right now?
I'm not saying Caleb Wilson's name after how much I butchered it the other day.
Well, you got it right that time. But
I will
you
guys see him on Saturday, by the way, against Virginia?
It was unbelievable. He's quite the athlete.
Are Rake and I making it to South Bend, by the way? Notre Dame, Virginia tomorrow night. Are Rake and I good to go?
I think he'll be good to go.
What you guys go? What's your preferred method of getting up there?
No, they're just. I mean, it's.
I was about to say, how many methods are there?
It's 2.
Unless you got something different, unless you got a helicopter, unless
Yeah.
your boy who's shoveling the driveway can,
I just
take
wanted
us there.
I
It's
was just wondering if you had an
31,
alternate.
baby.
I just wanted to know if you had an
Stop at the
alternate
hip hugger
way.
for happy hour, and it's straight up there.
So let me. I forgot to follow up about this. So your kids got to sleep in yesterday, and they ain't had to get a shovel, Jeff.
No.
Where's the character building? Where's the get out there and snow? Because I had to do this way back in the day. They were just in the bed. I mean, I had to grab a shovel every now and then.
I will tell you this:
They saw Al out there, and like, we're good. We don't have to do anything.
if
Uncle
my two
Al,
kids
right?
or if my two kids or even I had to shovel my driveway, we'd be out there most of the day.
Woo!
That was a
baby.
brag.
Yeah.
No, it's not a brag. It's
The
just
palatial
no,
estate.
because you got one of those. You got one of those circular things, and then there's another one that goes straight up beside
Ooh,
the
yeah,
house
baby.
too. It's
You
not
don't know
that
nothing
big.
about that, Mark Dyke.
No.
You
The
and your
10
one
the-
parking spot.
The 10-acre driveway and the gated community.
There's no 10 acres, believe me.
Ooh, baby.
There's just a lot of pavement around the house. That's all.
Mark,
I'm
you're on
saying.
your hands and knees putting
Man.
salt down on that driveway.
You know it.
You guys will kill me. You can't say anything in this room without getting
No,
hammered.
I'm not killing you. Hey, the Lord has blessed. The Lord is blessed. It's always good to express that.
Is the marble fountain still running water, though?
Plus,
Jeff, is what I wanna
more
know.
importantly, and mostly, there's no marble fountain. Most importantly, though, I knew Al was coming.
Shout out Al.
That's how you do
Shout
it,
out
man.
Al.
That's how you do it. It's the Fan Morning Show, 239-1070. You want to get a hold of us on the text line? We'd be more than happy to do that. I know that, Mark, you and Eddie were both here yesterday. You had Girls Pairing Show on the Indiana Sports Network from IHSAA and some other things going on. What was it like getting in and out yesterday was my question.
Awful. The highways are down to one lane. The city streets are untouched by plows for the most part. And then just flooring the accelerator to get into the parking lot was fun. Even dug out an employee. I did my good deed for the day. Dug out an employee who was trying to leave.
Oh, look at that.
Look
Nice
at that.
job. You and Tony Katz.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Somebody from WIBC.
Let's play this, Mark. Will you cue this up? For those that were watching Pacers Thunder, I was kind of flipping back and forth. Butler, Marquette Friday night. By the way, shout out to Finley Bizjack. Excellent for the Bulldogs in that one. Butler has got a huge game Wednesday at St. John's. Huge for the resume. But flipping back and forth, in the Pacers get one of their marquee wins, certainly of the season, but no Tyrese Halliburton in attendance for this one. And now, James, I'm trying to think. When Rick Carlisle joined us initially this offseason, I want to say he told us that he didn't think Tyrese would travel a ton early in the season.
Right.
And Tyrese, by all accounts, has been to every road game, I believe, until Friday night in Oklahoma City. Obviously, that is the site where he tore his Achilles. And this is game 4 of a 5-game road trip. So it's not like it's a one-night road trip where, whatever, Tyrese just stays back. I mean, I assume he, went back to Indy after the Boston game. I guess that would have been last week. Now, Tyrese made an appearance on the Amazon Prime show here a few months back. They have players on there as well. So Taylor Rooks, who is the host of Amazon Prime's NBA coverage, she shared this in regards to Tyrese Halliburton not attending the Pacers game against the Thunder on Friday.
Obviously a humongous win for Indiana, but their superstar was not in the building for this one. Now, this, of course, was the site of Tyrese Halliburton's Game 7 injury. He has been traveling with the team for every game despite being ruled out for the season until tonight. There obviously were a lot of questions about why Tyrese was not at the game, so I asked him if he could offer us an explanation, and he said that he does not think he's ready to go back there yet. He said, it's something I still think about for sure. He would like the next time he goes back to be when he can play and get lost in competing and playing the game that he loves rather than staring at that spot of the floor the whole game, which I thought was, of course, an incredibly honest and open answer about why he just felt like mentally it wasn't the moment to return.
I get it. Totally get it. Don't you, James?
Yeah, probably some PTSD there, to be honest with you. I don't mean to say that to be dramatic, but I mean to be real. Devastating injury, biggest game of your life, and I can understand why he would want to play on that court the next time he's back on that court versus being back there and inevitably having to kind of relive some of those moments.
And I think one thing, too, about Tyrese, and I think for the most part, we know this in our market, but like he is so jovial when you watch him. He is so, frankly, just looks so happy.
Yes.
Even when he's on the bench right now. Like he is the first one up. He's high-fiving guys. This is not a Kawhi Leonard look to Tyrese Halliburton.
What do you mean? Kawhi has one of the most iconic laughs in NBA history.
He does have that. Mark, if we could find that would be excellent here on this Monday morning. But I guess just another reminder of like, there's a lot going on in there. And, I think back to Tyrese, I think it was last year, early in the season, when he went to New York. Didn't he have a goose egg in that game? Or maybe he had only like 2 points in that game. And he was
scoreless.
Yeah, and then like a couple weeks later, he talked about how much of a dark place he was in. And this goes back to the Olympic run and not being able to play there and battling the hamstring injuries and all of this. And I believe he saw like the Pacers mental coach and just a lot going on there that, frankly, when I look at him or observe him, I don't necessarily, think about that stuff. Probably a reminder for all of us just in terms of our daily interactions with humans there. But, clearly, and if you watch the Starting Five documentary on Netflix, I think you'll get, pretty good glimpse into, how much he is going through. Even though, by all accounts, rehab's going well and, he's able to do a lot of stuff right now and this and that. But I get it. It makes sense. But, I guess I just, when the road trip popped up, I didn't think to myself, I wonder if Tyrese will travel. I mean, he's been to every road game this year. He's gone on those, one-night road trips when, if I were him, I'd probably say, hey, I might as well stay back here and just relax and not have to, go to all these road games. But he's done all that. But definitely Friday night, a little bit too much for him.
My guess is he doesn't want to go back and play on that floor or even be on the floor, sit on the floor until he is ready to go play basketball and win a basketball game, James. Mentally, I'm sure that's where he's at.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can agree with that.
All right. So, again, if you're an Indiana Pacers fan, as most of the people listening to our program are every day, they have moved their game up in Atlanta from this evening until 1:30 this afternoon, I believe. So 1 o'clock airtime here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. You'll have Jake Query from noon to 1. And then after the Eddie White postgame show, the world's greatest postgame show, you'll get JMV from about 4:45-ish to 7, and you'll have Inside IU Athletics after that. So that's what the day looks like. And one of the things we'll be talking about, I'm sure, with Joel A. Erickson coming up in a moment is teams continue to hire head coaches. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers finally found their guy, and he feels like a Pittsburgh guy. He is a Pittsburgh guy, but
yeah, it was a boring hire in my opinion, but very on brand for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not one of those people who are saying
Mike McCarthy for those living under a rock.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Mike McCarthy is someone who can't win in Pittsburgh, but I feel like that's kind of like a high floor, low ceiling hire.
Mark, does this mean your guy's back?
I don't know. That's an interesting situation that they got there.
By all accounts, they got along, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy.
They got
right?
along.
The Steelers said that they're open to having him come back.
Oh, Lord.
We'll see, I guess.
What are their options, though?
Get bad so you can get good?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Patriots.
They don't do that, Pittsburgh.
I mean, the Mike McCarthy record that Mike Tomlin has, that's not going to carry over. So I feel like clean slate, you might as well start anew with a new quarterback. Because even if you get Aaron Rodgers from one more year, it's probably one more year and that's it. So you're going to be needing a quarterback anyway.
That's what I'm saying. And to a degree, I kind of view the Steelers how the Pacers were before trading Domantas Sabonis away and trading for Tyrese Halliburton and then absolutely stinking for a year to kind of reset themselves. Because the worst place to be in sports is the middle. Yes. And that's where they are every year. I can see it now. Mike McCarthy, first year on the job, 10-7. Aaron Rodgers runs it back and they get blown out in the wild card round because that's what they do every year.
All right, we'll talk to Joel A. Erickson about head coaching changes and, of course, the future of the Indianapolis Colts as we continue in a moment. It's a cold one today. Go a little bit slower, take a little bit more time. Main roads are generally plowed, side streets not so much. Usually two-lane streets like Meridian really, at least early this morning, were one-lane on either side. So keep that in mind as well.
And again, I-65 70 North split. Marcus Bailey from Wish TV sharing that that is currently closed. Seen some videos and pictures there. It looks ugly. Sideways cars stuck. So I get that, there's a decent amount of people working here on this Monday morning, but brace yourself. And if you don't have to go in, don't.
More in a moment on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're grooving already this morning on a Monday, Mark Dykton. Good job out of you again.
Thank you.
Jolie Erickson will join us coming up in a moment. Here we'll talk some NFL. The Super Bowl participants are set. Most people watched it yesterday. Sam Darnold, the Seattle Seahawks, going to the Super Bowl to take on the New England Patriots and young Drake May. And we talked about Sam Darnold a lot about an hour ago, but I'll bring it up again. 3 different franchises gave up on him, and now he's playing in the Super Bowl for Seattle ahead of Lamar Jackson, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Baker Mayfield. And for all the people that talk about scripted this, scripted that, you can't make that stuff up, James. You just can't make it up. Every time over the last couple of years he's had an opportunity, he went to Minnesota, took advantage of it. They didn't want him. Went over to Seattle, and quite frankly is working on not a big, huge quarterback contract, but he's doing it again. And I don't know, you tell me. I know J.J. McCarthy was not great this past year, but Justin Jefferson had an all-world year a year ago with Sam Darnold, and now he goes over to Seattle, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is having an all-world year. Quarterback has to have something to do with it, doesn't he?
Absolutely. J.J. McCarthy is not good at football. Sam Darnold is.
Jolie Erickson is good, and he covers the Colts over at the Indy Star. Joins us now on the Payless Liquors hotline. Good morning, Joel. You safe and warm and happy this morning?
Safe and warm and happy. It is very white outside. You guys. I'm impressed with you guys. You guys got the driveways all cleared off for this morning.
Well, Joel, back in my day, I used to walk to school in this weather, 10 miles both ways. But no, I do have actually a question about this. This is why I wanted to have you on the air. Today we were going through like our list of Colts reporters. So Joel is a Wisconsin native. So as a Wisconsin native who is very familiar with snow, what are your essentials in times like this? And are we overreacting? Do you ever think to yourself, boy, these Indiana people have no idea?
So my dad reminds me with the cold thing every time it gets cold down here. Like it's been cold the last couple of days, but I've gotten a text message from him with like -24 is the actual temp, because that's where we're in my hometown. That's what it was like the last 2 days. So he reminds me with the cold more than anything. The snow thing, I learned there was a huge snowstorm in Missouri when I started going to school there. They got like 15 inches in one night, or one snowfall. And that was when I learned that the rest of the country doesn't do or understand snow the way that Wisconsin does. And so from then on, I've always been like, you know what? I got to give everybody else a pass. This doesn't happen to them all the time.
Fair enough.
All right, you ready to talk some football, my man?
Yeah, let's go.
What should Colts fans be thinking as they watch the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks?
That's a great question. Well, if you want to, Daniel Jones has an Achilles tear, but if you want to feel some optimism about Daniel Jones coming back and leading the Colts, you should get it from Sam Darnold. The book on Darnold after last year's playoff loss in Minnesota was, Minnesota moved on from him, and Minnesota probably regrets that, if I had to guess, after the way this season went. So I think that's one of the things, is that he's the latest in the line of guys who failed one place and then went somewhere else and looked much, much better. And the flip side, though, is that Sam Darnold wasn't coming off a torn Achilles. So I think, most Colts fans probably aren't in a optimistic mood, but if you wanted to, that's one of the things that sticks out to me.
Joel, good morning. Thank you for the time. As I know, your house, probably like many others, a bit chaotic here on this snow day, Monday. Diana Rossini reporting that Phillip Rivers has withdrawn from the Buffalo Bills head coaching sweepstakes. Do you think we'll get a St. Michael's locker room Wolf of Wall Street video from Phillip Rivers and his high school kids later today?
I hope so.
How great would that be?
That'd be amazing. Also, does that mean that can we get next year a state title, and then in 5 or 6 years, the Phillip Rivers movie where he goes to play after they, lose the state semifinal. He goes to play back in the NFL and flirts the NFL before coming back and winning the title.
I like this.
There's a very solid movie right there.
Sure. And honestly, Terry Pagula wouldn't even need an actor. He could just act like himself in that movie after what we've seen over the last few weeks. The great Joel A. Erickson from the Indianapolis Star with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Okay, let's go back a few weeks ago. Chris Ballard, younger and faster on defense. In my mind, Joel, I'm looking at the clouds and I'm saying, okay, they need to go find a starting defensive end opposite Latu. I think they need a new starting linebacker. Is that where I'm done defensively? Is there more? Is there different stuff? What do you think about that rough sketch, starting D-end, starting linebacker for 2026?
Yeah, I think that's the start. And then I think that what I've been thinking is that both of those positions, you just keep hammering away at them. Because in the secondary, you start talking through the spots, even if Tarvarius Moore decides to retire, they've got some guys. You probably still need to add a corner in that scenario. If Nick Cross leaves, you have to make a move at strong safety, but I don't know that those are as dire in terms of the younger and faster. I think the younger and faster to me was, I think you take everybody at defensive end who's not JT Tuimoloau or Latu and try to upgrade all that and get a lot younger and faster. And then, the linebacker, I think you got to add a couple places there too, because, they had a bunch of really good special teams options behind Jermaine Pratt and Zaire Franklin. They were really thin on terms of NFL depth, guys who could make a start if somebody went down.
Is Nick Cross a Colt in 2026?
That's a really tough question, and it's because the reason it's tough is because
I think it's the hardest of all the free agents, Joel, to debate.
Yeah, the safety market is impossible to predict because I feel like for a little while there, it was like, well, they're not going to pay any safeties any money, and that's not necessarily true anymore. Cam Bynum obviously is here on a big money deal, but the way the market seems to work now is 3 or 4 safeties get paid top dollar, and then there's a huge gap between what those 3 or 4 top guys get and the rest of the market. And then those other guys end up getting less than they want to. We went through a couple of Julian Blackmon free agencies where he really just wasn't able to cash in on good seasons. I think that determines the whole thing with Nick Cross is what does the rest of the NFL see him as? Do they see him as a big money up and coming strong safety, or do they see him as a solid starter? Because there could be a difference of like $10 million per year between those two evaluations.
Joel, along those same lines for personnel, we know that Michael Pittman Jr. has a huge cap hit next year. I think it's $29 million. If they cut him, they'll save about $24 million, I believe, in cap space with about $5 million in dead money. So, in other words, do you think Pittman will be on the team next year thinking he'll restructure, or do you think he'll go elsewhere?
I mean, I kind of always think that in my head, whenever a guy of Michael Pittman's numbers gets in this situation, I kind of expect them to make the decision to force the team's hand and let them back on the open market. If they're going to do it instead of restructuring. Now, I think players obviously can have different, make different decisions, decide that they want different stuff, but usually. Wasn't Cooper Kupp in this situation a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And asked for the cut because you could end up making more on the open market than when you're negotiating against just your team. So that's I mean if I was Michael Pittman, that's what I would do because his numbers, they haven't been, by his own admission, haven't been up to his standard the last couple of years. His overall numbers still put him in line for a big payday on the open market.
So then along those same lines, Joel, this is why I ask you that first question. If Pittman moves on, then how big of a priority is it to get another receiver in the draft or elsewhere?
Yeah, you're good. I mean, he led the team in receptions last year. But I do think, though, you don't have to necessarily – I don't think you necessarily have to emphasize it the same way you ever emphasize those defensive positions because you give Tyler Ward another year in the offense where he's he's not a rookie. He knows the NFL now. He's got a chance to maybe expand what he does. Maybe you expand Josh Downs, and then just expand Alec Pierce's role, and you're probably in good. You need another receiver in that scenario, but I don't think it becomes the most pressing need. I think the most pressing need is still defensive end, and specifically pass rusher. Kind of almost no matter what happens, unless Daniel Jones decides to leave.
Joel, one other thing from me, I don't know if you realize this, pitchers and catchers, you look outside today, just know that pitchers and catchers report in 15 days.
Oh, I definitely realize that.
That's a holiday in the Erickson household.
I was about to say,
Jeff,
this man watches games during press conferences and still manages to ask a competent question.
I definitely realize that. The hot stove has been the weather has been cold, but the stove has been hot in Major League Baseball for the last couple of weeks. So I'm aware.
Did you like that the Brewers traded Freddie Peralta?
So here's the thing. I love Freddie Peralta, just in terms of like a top, probably in my favorite 3 Brewers pitchers of my lifetime. But the flip side of that is this is just I've kind of given up and resigned myself to this is just what they have to do, and it's probably going to work out better than I think it is. I think every year they make one of these deals, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how that works out, and then one of the guys they ends up being better than I thought. So I'm kind of at the point where I just have to be like, you know what, that'll probably work out. I don't love it, but that they're just not going to be able to pay a pitcher at the level he's going to need next year, and I'm not even sure if they should try, given their financial limitations and what happens to pitchers after 30.
Joel, I enjoyed meeting your fellow coach Kevin on Saturday. It was a fun convo. I can see you two in 9U baseball, just chess matching your way like a little Phillip Rivers, Shane Steichen, Monday through Saturday prep. Selfishly for me, though, and your kids are just slightly older than mine, we ran out of things very quickly for entertainment yesterday in the Bowen household. Matty Bowen, I thought, executed a beautiful scavenger hunt, and 18 minutes later it was over. So is there anything, what do you have up your sleeve on day 2 of Snow-mageddon?
Yours are younger, so I don't know if this works, but the real MVP of this snowstorm is Sarah Ann, Mrs. Erickson, because on the way back from hockey on Saturday, it had already started snowing. It was like 7:30. We stopped so she could get this card game called 5 Crowns, and that's like they picked it up when they went back to their family Christmas. That was a lot of yesterday. So I think if we need to fill something, that's what's going to be for us again is going back to this card game 5 Crowns, because shout out to Sarah Ann for knowing hey, we got to get this game before we're trapped in the house for a little bit.
Okay, so if I get stuck in the Target parking lot, you'll come bail me out because I'm getting 5 Crowns, right?
Yeah, I can. I can make it there. That's the thing. I can get there.
All right, just putting this in your brain before I leave. Guardians and Brewers at American Family Fields of Phoenix on the 21st of February. 10. Well, pitchers and catchers. Yeah, you're right.
I'm about to say you need to stop. Know who you're talking to.
I know. I'm just reading you their schedule. It says Guardians and Brewers, September 21st.
It is tattooed in his brain.
Saturday, February 21st. It said. So I don't know. You tell me. So go have fun, man.
We'll see where they. It's coming up. It's coming up. I'm already in the portion where I feel like there's no way they're going to win the division. So that's normal for this time of year. And but yeah, it's cold outside, but baseball is coming. Opening day is coming.
All right, buddy. Have fun. Thank you. There is Joel A. Erickson on the Payless Liquors hotline. I want to hear more about the activities that you guys plan throughout the day, because that sounds fun, the scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I thought Maddie did a nice job. Find something that starts with whatever, an L in the basement. Find something soft that's upstairs. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was wonderfully executed. Mark, if you have any ideas, feel free to chime in, but I swear I blinked and it was 10:21 and then it was over by 10:47.
No, we just like, what do you guys want to watch on TV? And hey, don't throw that.
Mark, you know what I made? I mean, my voice cracked. It's already cracked earlier today. Clearly, my voice hanging on by a little bit of a thread. I mean, I yelled at Max Bowen so loud, my voice cracked about 9:28. I thought this was going to be such a long day. I also made my own kid bingo for the football games. Mark, have you ever done that?
No, do tell.
So online, they have these great, bingo, I guess, templates, if you will, for football games. So, if you see a touchdown, boom, mark that on your bingo board, et cetera, et cetera. So I edited a few of them. I wanted to get some commercials in the mix. So, a chips commercial, a car commercial, a beer commercial. And, I mean, Rosie Bowen was as locked in as I've ever seen her. Cheerleaders, if you see the cheerleaders.
That's good stuff right there.
Coin toss, kickoff, Mark, it was great. So usually I say that for the Super Bowl. But I was desperate yesterday. I said, we got 2 games.
You looked over at Maddie. I'm like, I'm putting together hours of entertainment here.
So that was big time. So I like to say I did I don't know if there's any other dad things I need to do for 2026, to be honest with you.
See, I left right as the AFC Championship game was starting. So I was like, bye, family. I'll see you tomorrow. I had to go to the hotel. So
I'm kind of surprised that you guys didn't organize like a Royal Rumble for the kids.
That's this Saturday. So we'll see. We'll see.
Marquee event.
You know it.
Is this the anniversary of it being here, Mark?
We're getting close, yeah. Might be, yeah. Was it today? Maybe.
It's Fan Morning
But
Show.
it was a Royal Rumble, right?
Yeah.
That was what was it?
Lucas Oil, yep.
Yeah.
93.5, 107.5, The Fan. We're talking to Joel A. Erickson about the Colts and what they might do off season. And we've talked about this before, too. But as you think about it further and you talk to people like Joel, Kevin, and then James, you weigh in, too. What do you think? Where would you put the chances on a scale of like 1 to 100 that Nick Cross is playing for the Colts next year? Is it 50-50 for you, or is it more or less one or the other?
I think it's the hardest debate, James, of any free agent. I guess 50-50 would, yeah. I mean, that's where I would put it. And, Joel laid out a lot of the reasons. One, the safety market is very diminished in the NFL. But, like, James can probably do this, but if I asked Jeff, you, or Mark to name a Colts safety, not name Cam Bynum or Nick Cross, could you?
Not right this second,
right?
No.
I mean, like that position's that barren at safety. James, I struggle to name the safeties on the Colts roster that are not Cam Bynum or Nick Cross. So if you were to let him walk, it's a neat. You're not giving that starting job to Hunter Wooler coming off a Liz Frank injury, are you?
No, and I'm trying to think. What, Rodney Thomas, Daniel Scott, these are not names that you
Trey Washington, is he still around?
Didn't Daniel Scott have a moment in the preseason last year?
He had a pick 6, but yeah, Trey Washington was unfortunately the safety who broke his teammate's ankle in training camp with the hip drop tackle. So
I just think it's like, Cross has ascended, James, to a player where you would like to keep around. I mean, you drafted him as a very young draft pick. Literally, he was like 20 years old.
You traded up to get him.
Right. And then he is, I think, earned a nice second contract. It's just money, roster mechanics. Can you really pay? I mean, what'd you pay Bynum? 4 years and $60 million?
Yeah.
Do you really have a similar contract for Cross?
That's why I wouldn't go 50-50 on the odds of him being back. I'd probably go somewhere between 40-60, 30-70, because I just can't see you paying 2 safeties big money, especially knowing that you're not one player away. Like if you were, what was it, the Rams a few years ago when they won it, they like got rid of all their draft picks and they spent a bunch of money, and it was like, we're going all in on this one season because we got the quarterback, we got the players, we got Aaron Donald, so let's just do it. That's not the case with the Colts. They need a lot of retooling, I think, to seriously be in contention next year. Now, I don't think they will be in contention next year because so many factors are in play here. Number one being the health of your quarterback. But for the sake of argument, assuming Daniel Jones is a good quarterback next year, let's say top 12-ish in the NFL, you need other pieces around him. I don't know if you can spend a big chunk of that money pie on another safety.
George Odom, just for the sake of argument, I looked it up because I didn't remember. But yeah, George Odom, is he still on the team?
Boy, I have no idea. Is he even in a contract for next year? I
I'd
don't
have
know.
to look
Didn't
that
they
up.
sign him late in the season?
Yeah. But to your point, off the top of my head, no. I couldn't have named it past the names that you mentioned. So we'll continue to talk about the Colts throughout the offseason. Of course, got the Super Bowl coming up. We'll tell you more about that right now, Mark, as we check it down.
The Morning Checkdown. Brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Well, the Patriots and the Seahawks are not worried about who their safeties are going to be next year because the guys they have will be rolling into the Super Bowl week after Sunday. They will be taking part in Super Bowl 60. Patriots getting back there for the 12th time, I think. Rams couldn't come up with a big play they needed at the end to beat the Seahawks in a terrific game yesterday. A shootout, James. 31-27, Sam Darnold, 346 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yes, that is the most passing yards a Seahawks quarterback has ever had in a playoff win. So, pretty elite company for Sam Darnold.
Not a terrible day for Matt Stafford, 374 yards and 3 touchdowns, but couldn't quite come up with a play at the very end. Some great television yesterday. I don't know if you saw they were showing a replay after that 4th down miss into the end zone late in the 4th quarter with the Rams. Sean McVay running down the sideline thinking about whether or not to call timeout or take a different tack on offense. And at the last minute, you could see him decide to let it play and leave it as it went. And the thing he feared, I think the Seahawks dropped 9 guys into coverage and really only rushed 2, and everybody was blanketed.
Yeah, great coverage by the Illinois grad there, the very high pick. I believe the pick after Anthony Richardson, Devin Witherspoon, on that 4th down play. That drive was tremendous by the Rams, and then all of a sudden you get down there and that Seattle defense stands tall. And then what a drive by Seattle then to kind of ice it. I mean, I know that Stafford, got it to close to midfield there, but that was going to be some heroic drive at that point. But Seattle, had 2 or 3 first downs, I think, after that to try and close out that game. So, both games yesterday were outstanding for different reasons. The weather obviously played such a big factor in that first game. So, yes, an early line of about 4 or 5 I'm seeing here. Seattle Seahawks favored over the New England Patriots coming up in Santa Clara.
Yeah, Patriots beat the Broncos in Denver 10-7. Second half it just got worse and worse. It was a whole blizzard by the end of the game, James.
Yeah, it got to a point where you're wondering, can any team even score anymore? And that just didn't happen. So the Patriots win with their fewest amount of points ever in a playoff victory. 10.
Broncos had a chance to tie it in the 4th quarter with a field goal, but there was a deflection caused by the Patriots special teams, and that took it offline, and they hold on to win it by a score of 10-7. Again,
that meant
Super Bowl
Rosie
60.
could not put a chip on field goal.
Oh.
I said it had to be a good field goal. There was some debate in the household if it was a field goal attempt or made field goal. I decided they need to make it, and we're watching that game, and all of these teams are doing it, missing field goals. It was brutal.
How popular were you the rest of the day?
Someone's got to lay laws down. You can't just hand out participation trophies everywhere.
It's been cold, we know that, but that didn't stop several thousand, probably 20,000, 25,000 folks getting down to Memorial Stadium on Saturday in the sub-freezing temperatures to celebrate their national championship there. As Kurt Cignetti was just flat frozen by the end of that thing. I didn't know some of those guys didn't seem like they were appropriately dressed for the weather. They had on like sweatshirts and hoodies, and that was it, man. But I guess youth will do that for you, James.
I guess so. But, yeah, you got the trophy. You won it all. And when you did win it all, you were down in Miami. You had a nice celebration in there. Coming back here, boy, it is cold. So I'm glad they got in and out pretty much.
All right. And over the weekend, I should say last Friday night, Pacers got a surprise win over Oklahoma City, 117-114. Andrew Nembhard scored 27. He's been terrific lately. But Jarris Walker, guys, 26 points. And just playing all-around great basketball against the defending champions.
Best game as a pro, I would think.
Are we starting to see either enough to trade him, or do you keep him around moving forward?
Boy.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a debate over the next 10 days. We'll see if Benedict Mathurin plays here coming up this afternoon. He's been bumped up to questionable, which sometimes with these injured guys this season, that's indicated that they'll play. But, Walker needed this. There's no debate through 3 years who's been the better player. It's easily been Mathurin. But, right now, given the contract year nature to Ben's career versus Jarris being a year younger, that probably factors into it. I still would like to see more from Walker defensively. Like that long term, I think that's what could serve this team best, is him being a 6'8", 200 and whatever, 20, 30 pound, lockdown wing defender But still, offensively, especially driving it Friday night, he had several takes to the rim that were very, very impressive.
All right, so the Pacers play today, not tonight. Kevin, they've moved that game up because of icy weather expected this evening down in Atlanta. So here's how it looks today on the Fan. Regular scheduling, Jake will be on from noon to 1. Then we turn it over to the Pacers broadcast, have the greatest post-game show in the world with Eddie White after the game. And then around 4:45-ish, 5 o'clock, JMV comes through until 7 tonight. We're not going to let them off that easy for you, James, just because you were complaining about it. And then we'll have Inside IU Athletics at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, as Kevin pointed out earlier, we're the only ones working today. Only ones putting in all the time.
You imagine me questioning JMV's radio work
Guy
commitment.
never takes a day off and works on 2 stations.
This guy was here until midnight at Saturday night here.
And was texting me Sunday morning, can you make it?
Ball is life.
Well, I bet he did.
Should we go around the horn and describe the commutes in for those that have not so far here? Mark Dykton, you were downtown last night. You would say roads have certainly improved since you were in here yesterday.
Yeah, plows have touched them, so that's good. So still can't tell much of the street marking, so be careful there, but definitely a big improvement from last night. Don't know what the highways looked like, though. From every account, it apparently is not great still.
Yeah, 65-70 split reportedly closed, so not good.
How was your commute in?
I wouldn't say fully double the time, but close to it. Again, when we're driving in at whatever 6 a.m., you pretty much have free reign of the roadways there, so I was able to just pretty much straddle the middle lane. But side streets hadn't really been touched, and even it was probably the most snow I've seen on Meridian. For a full day removed from, especially the turn lanes.
Yeah.
And if you're going on side streets, like I had to be rerouted down 16th at one point there. It was a stuck Indigo bus that, they were sending us down 16th. Like turning onto those types of streets, that's where it can get a little dicey. And per usual, I think the hardest aspect is getting out of your own, for me, it's an alley. Getting out of your own alley, driveway, neighborhood. That's your hardest part.
James, you didn't have too far
Put a
to come,
shovel
but
in
you
your
made
car.
it. Yeah.
Put a shovel in your car.
You had a shovel in your car, didn't you, James?
Yeah, well, I keep a shovel in there for other reasons as well. But
he's a neighbor.
Do we have a Home Alone? Do we have a Netflix series coming soon?
Hey, man,
You never know when Mark Sanchez is
I
going
was
to be
about
down
to
the
say,
alley, man.
you keep talking, you might be in it. But no, I just had to get off
It
my
was worth
street.
coming to work on this Monday morning.
I just had to get off my street, which was the hardest part. My street is actually not that level. I didn't realize this until it rained really hard once. And boy, when it rains really hard or when it snows really hard, it can get hard to get out. So kept a shovel on me, spun the tires a few times, got out of it. And then once I got on the main roads, I was pretty much fine.
Yeah, I came from the north side and basically took Meridian almost all the way down. To your point about time, my 25-minute commute was about 40 minutes this morning. Meridian was on either side, just one lane, where they had plowed everything. And again, very early this morning, wasn't a ton of traffic, but not a huge problem. Just go slower than expected.
And a big thank you to everybody out there, first responders, essential workers, utility workers, AES. I mean, I know, people that are plowing, volunteer plow, people that don't do that, from a normal 9-to-5 standpoint. So cannot thank everybody enough. But if you don't have to be outside today, don't.
All right, that'll do it for the check down at this point in time. I do want to talk about the Indiana Hoosier football team and what happened this past weekend, and a little bit more about what lies ahead for the new national champion Indiana Hoosiers next at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Softer than a kitten, so
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You need more Taylor Swift in your life, apparently, is what Mark is telling you
Kevin's
right there.
eyeing me for some reason. I don't know why.
Mark, are you up to something over there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Great song. I struggle with the lyrics.
No, I think you did pretty good with the lyrics from what I saw over the weekend.
all of a sudden,
occasion,
all of a sudden, his head popped up, though, didn't it, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Multitasking Kevin Bowen there singing Taylor Swift and driving around town over the weekend.
The bouquet part, where I kind of struggle a little bit there, Mark. But thank you for that jam here
You're welcome.
on this Monday.
We saw a celebration for the Indiana Hoosiers at Memorial despite the sub-freezing temperatures on Saturday afternoon. You could hear it here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I listened to the first 10, 15 minutes of it here on the radio, and then I did watch the end of it on TV on the Big Ten Network because I just want to see how cold everybody looked. And they definitely looked cold. Kurt Signetti looked like he was about to freeze to death, not only on the stage, but then they called him over to the Big Ten set and talked to him for another 5 minutes or so. He couldn't even hardly get his mouth to work. He was so cold.
Hey, he's a cold-blooded dude, so he'll be all right.
This is what he did have to tell the folks that braved the elements to go see his national championship Hoosiers during his on the podium speech.
The senior leadership, the makeup of this team, so close, so much of the right stuff. I'd like to thank Pam Whitten, Scott Dolson for their tremendous commitment. Chapter 3 begins tomorrow. And one last time on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hoosiers!
Keeping it a little short and sweet again, James. Gotta like it.
Boy, you know a person means business when they announce or pronounce tomorrow as tomorrow. My grandma, she still says tomorrow.
Is that
Boy,
the Yinzer and Kurtz again?
Hey, I swear. You hear somebody say this is going down tomorrow, they mean business.
This is the business they've done so far. They've done very well in the portal, the transfer portal. I'll go latest to earliest, the January 4th and 5th commitments that they got. Miami tight end Brock Schott, highly regarded. Kansas State edge rusher Chidi Obiazor, very highly regarded. Notre Dame defensive lineman Joshua Burnham. What can you tell us about him, KB?
Yeah, really, really solid player. I was hoping he would come back.
Cincinnati safety Jaquan Sanks. Boston College running back, my favorite name, James, Turbo Richard. You got to be a good running back if your name's Turbo, right?
Yes.
Josh Hoover, I think he was the 5th highest rated quarterback in the transfer portal from TCU, put up some monster stats last year. Kansas State edge rusher Toby Asunsanmi. You want to say that for me, James? Asunsanmi, right there. Michigan State receiver Nick Marsh and Wisconsin safety Preston Zachman. Most of the guys they left, and they've had 4 leave Indiana for the portal, most of them backups. Mitch Verstegen, the offensive lineman, cornerback Knighton, defensive lineman DePape, and his brother Andrew DePape, William DePape and Andrew DePape, both of them defensive linemen. They are on their way out. So all in all, not many losses, but some big additions, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't think that's a full list, to be honest with you. I think that's still missing a few guys that they have lost there. So I don't know if that's not updated or what. But, yeah, I mean, by all accounts, obviously the portal haul. And I think the big news now on this Monday morning is what will happen with Omar Cooper Jr. Is he, when you see those parade or celebration moments on Saturday, I kind of thought, boy, if he's coming back, wouldn't it be a time to grab the mic and announce that right now? But that didn't happen. I don't know what they could have done in Bloomington. Mother Nature was awful. But I wish there could have been a little bit more there from a celebration standpoint. I frankly was all about the parade down Kirkwood. And I was serious about that. Like, I think that would have been really cool. And again, I'll quote Maddie Bowen watching that on Saturday. She goes like, this is painfully awkward, and probably mostly the John Mellencamp aspect to it. For anybody that watched it, it was quite something there, and him and trying to do a sing along with the football players. So, and again, the weather was just horrific there.
So
yeah, and I guess they didn't do Assembly Hall. Just to clear this up. Sorry, James. They didn't do Assembly Hall because they felt like they wanted more than 17,000 to be able to come, which I don't know. It probably looked right around 20. What'd you say, Jeff? 20,000 or something like that. And obviously you would have had people, I guess, standing outside of Assembly Hall in these frozen temps to get into the building there. And you're at the mercy now of all of these guys. I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them now going to their respective all-star games. Or James, you know this full well, that draft prep begins now.
Oh, yeah.
So the Elijah Surratts, you go train now for the combine. You have a month. I mean, we're less than a month away from the NFL combine. So you now train for a track meet here over the next 4 weeks. So I think that is why there was so much pressure to have it, done this past weekend.
Yeah, and to finish up some of that list, obviously, it was getting to Alberto Mendoza is the big name, not the big name, but the name that people are like, oh. Some people wondered if he would be next in line after Big Brother Fernando leaves, but he's going to Georgia Tech.
Oh, they didn't wonder that. As soon as you pay the TCU quarterback $4 million.
Well, before that, they were wondering. But yeah, some of the other guys we talked about Verstegen, but Jaja Boyd, Dontre Henderson, Evan Lawrence, Jamari Manette, amongst some of the other guys that are on their way out.
So I have a question, and feel free to weigh in as fathers and married people. If you say your wife's outfit is quite something, or your kid's artwork that showed you at school is quite something, what does that really mean?
Not good.
Yeah, okay. Just checking. Because I was like, boy, that's not the good. I don't want everyone to hear that, man. People listen to the show. I hope they don't say, man, James and the boys were just quite something this morning. Yeah. I'm like, I hope we're a little better than that, man.
I'm afraid you just need to dial up the text line of the YouTube chat, and you don't have to scroll too far, James, to get that. Tyree Tucker is coming back, one of the better players for Indiana this past season. I believe one of the few JMU guys left as well. So, again, the Omar Cooper Jr. news, I think that's the big one, at some point. And I have a feeling maybe Kurt Signetti grabs the mic tomorrow night inside of Assembly Hall.
Ooh.
Is there one more, or is he done? Once he said chapter 3, is he done, or is he first home game since the national title?
And it is Purdue.
Could that be the jolt they need?
I don't think he does it. To be honest with you.
Because we've moved on.
Yep.
We're on to chapter
because they
3.
moved on.
He probably feels like he's said his piece.
Darren DeVries, figure out your own program, brother.
Well, right
they're
now,
coming off a win.
Again, we're only going off of 5 or 6 days, and we'll get a lot into it tomorrow. But I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Purdue needs it. It's hard to overcome a 3-game losing streak if you're going to try and win another Big Ten title. And for Indiana, we still sit here as good as Friday night was for them. They've yet to beat a tournament team.
I think this one's in Assembly, right?
Correct.
Down there, yeah.
9 o'clock, Peacock it up, Assembly Hall. Oh, speaking of Peacocks, Mark, did I see the Wieners are back on Carb Day?
Wieners and peacocks, you know how we roll around here.
Believe the Wienermobile race won by who last year?
Oh, God, I don't remember who won that. I have to look that up. I remember you could take bets on it.
The disappointment on Kevin's face that you didn't know offhand.
I need to look it up.
Mark was actually on it here on this Monday morning here. This is the Carb Day Wienermobile race, right? Who needs the Freedom 100 when we've got Oscar Mayer Wieners going around the 2.5-mile oval? Can you imagine these Wieners on 465 today?
They put 6 Oscar Mayer Wieners up there on that track, don't they? Vying for position.
Tell you what, you go side by side and the short shoot, and you might not come out on the other side.
I saw that there was an article in the Indy Star that last year's
Slaw
event.
Dog is one who won it.
Who was
the
it?
Slaw Dog.
Now, were we booing them? Weren't they all from like certain regions of the country?
I think that was like Pacific Northwest or something like that. Or
weren't we booing the New England dog or whatever? And I wanted the Chicago dog and the turn one wall.
Last year's event drew 85,000 fans in person and 8 million live stream views.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to this year's events. And really, when we get to that part of the calendar of the year, I'm looking forward to experiencing the 500 again without the Pacers playing. Because that was a long day, Kevin. Boy, that was a very long day for your boy.
And
I enjoyed it, though.
That was one of the rare Pacer home losses.
Yeah.
We had during that playoff run there.
It's like they're like 0 for 4 or something like that.
I know.
People are like, all right, we've had enough of this. Pacers and Racers. Let's not do this again.
Won't have to worry about that this year. But Kurt Signetti driving the pace car, waving the green flag, seems like a no-brainer, right?
Absolutely.
Coaches, championship games, and former Colts quarterback. We got some news to share with you coming up in a moment. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Looking outside to the frigid parking lot, and it's a reminder to remind people, if you have an indoor facility, yes, we had a Super Bowl here in Indianapolis. Pretty legendary one, too. Isn't that where the Giants put an end to the undefeated season for the New England Patriots, Kevin?
And the weather didn't look like this.
No. And then I was thinking they had one in Detroit, too, back in 2006, which you remembered even the year. I said, didn't Detroit have a Super Bowl? And I started looking up, and you said, yeah, 2006.
Infamous Nick Harper year, yes. Wide right. Vanderjagt's field goal hits the red garter. Yeah, rest is history on that. One thing to note, again, we're less than a month away from the Combine. I was listening to Chris Gall from Visit Indy over the weekend. He brought up one different aspect to Visit Indy this year. They won't, we typically have Chris on our show every year from the Combine. This year's focus won't be so much about retaining the Combine. That announcement happened on Friday. We know the Combine's going to be here for 2 more years. The NFL will be sending people here to view Indianapolis as an NFL draft site. Now, I found it interesting when Chris mentioned some of the possible venues for that. I think we've discussed this before. The Speedway, I think, is what some people thought could be used. When you've seen the Super Bowl go to these respective cities, or the draft go to these respective cities in recent years, they've used, kind of their iconic spots in the city. But Chris mentioned Military Park right here, the south side of Lucas Oil, and then potentially White River State Park. So I thought that was interesting. But that aspect is different for Visit Indy with the NFL this year during the Combine. So, I've said this before. I don't really get the NFL draft crowd, to be honest with you. It sounds like Times Square on New Year's Eve, if I'm going to be totally honest. But I can't ignore the crowds that these cities get. I mean, it's wild how many people show up to watch names get announced.
Some people just looking for an excuse to party.
Yeah, but I also think it's just proof that the NFL is king. Correct. I mean, they make an event out of everything.
Yes.
The schedule release is like the Super Bowl for social media teams. And I'm not joking about that. They actually put a lot of time and effort into those things.
Not a good one for the Colts last year, if I remember correctly.
Well, they put a little bit more time and effort into those things this time around. But my point is, they make everything a spectacle. So I'm not surprised by the crowds. I think I certainly don't want to judge them too harshly because, hey, you want to have a good time. You want to give your team some hope. And I feel like that's one of the events, Kevin, along with the Combine, along with the Senior Bowl, things like that, where everybody has an opportunity to get better in theory.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this on air, but it's a Monday. It's a snow day. Let's be honest. Is the FCC really working?
No.
Mark, do you have the dump button ready to go?
I do. I don't know if I'm going to touch it, though.
Kind of our biggest news item of the morning is what? Phillip Rivers withdrawn from the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, boy.
Say it. I know what you're talking about, and I fully approve.
Patrick on Twitter, the first time Phillip Rivers ever pulled out of anything.
Yeah. You're not going to get...
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good with that
that's
one.
a truthful statement there.
Yeah.
All right.
No one could misinterpret that for anything else.
If they do, it's their own mind, right?
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Shout out to Phillip Rivers for pulling out here on this Monday morning. Sounds like the Buffalo Bills will look elsewhere. Lou Anarumo, right? Didn't he interview there? So that could still be a thing?
Yes, but can I say this real quick?
No, you want to go back to the pulling out part?
Let's go back. Let's go back to this.
Now you're making sure that they think of it that way.
One, it's a good decision that he made. A lot of people out there probably have thought about that in the past. Not a bad idea.
College-age kids could follow suit.
Yeah, exactly. But
for his age, that's impressive.
Shut up, all of y'all. I get to the point. So, in all seriousness, I thought that was ridiculous that he even got an interview, to be honest with you. Like, when I saw that and read that, I was thinking to myself, oh, the Bills are one of the dumbest franchises in the NFL.
See, this is where I would differ. I'm good with interviewing any and all. And I also think you might do some of these things for coordinators. Let's interview these guys. And if they don't get the head coaching job, maybe they're coordinators or down the road. And just give me intel. If Phillip Rivers shares something in that interview, let's say the interview is 10 hours long, shares something in that interview of like, wow, I never thought of offensive football like that. And you're Brandon Beane. I jot that down on my paper. And then when we hire Lou Anarumo as a defensive head coach, I say to Lou, you know what? We had Phillip Rivers in here. He brought up this aspect to the offensive side of the ball. What do you think about that? I would just use it to, frankly, probably not give all these people fair shots at it, but for my own intel. That's how I view it.
God bless you, Kevin. I understand your reasoning behind that, but I'm not interviewing anybody for the head coach of the Buffalo Bills when we just fired the guy who has won a playoff game every year for the last 6 years. And you have no NFL or college coaching experience. And I love you, Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network. He tweeted something like, oh, well, Philip Rivers was essentially the offensive coordinator when he played. No, he was not. He wasn't. Otherwise, what the heck was the other offensive coordinator doing? And oh, by the way, not to be too petty, but I'm like, if he was such a great offensive mind, how come he never won a Super Bowl? I mean, my God.
Philip Rivers catching straight.
Man.
I mean, I'm just like, hey, at some point we got to start looking at resumes here.
Maybe he shouldn't have pulled out.
Man, he read the same resume. He ran the same offense as the Colts have the last few years. No, he did not. It's a high school team.
He's going to start PG-13 swearing at you,
like,
James.
I want to get James going like this every morning now.
I just think that it's ridiculous. I mean, Jeff Saturday, again, did you not see what happened there? No, let's not do that.
I said it was nepotism without the family. That's what that was. It was just, oh, you're a quarterback in the NFL. You can get an interview for head coach.
I stand by what I said to Joel Erickson an hour ago. I want St. Michael's High School football Twitter account to go Wolf of Wall Street video with Philip Rivers announcing he's back during like their morning lift tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. We're beating Center Grove for a state title next year. I said to that athletic director when we had him on, I want St. Michael's to play Garin. He seemed to be open to that when we had him on. St. Michael's Garin game at Lucas Oil next year.
One of those August games?
Sure, yeah. Put it on ESPNU.
I like that. I don't know what happened here, Mark, but I'm here for it. I want to get both these guys going like that every day. James is on it, man.
No, I'm actually serious about that. Yeah, I'm sick of that. Like the whole, he basically was a coach. No, he wasn't. He was not. Let's not pretend that he's something other than that.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, you got Josh Allen. You want an offensive mind who's got deep, at least coordinating, if not head coaching experience in the NFL for a guy like that, don't you?
You have to have the offensive mind.
I think if I'm hiring my next coach, and a lot of it goes back to what you were talking about the other day, Kevin, where
a couple defensive coaches in the Super Bowl, right?
You see, I get it, but you see defensive coaches get fired, and usually it's an offensive coach that gets hired next. Same thing on the other side. I got Josh Allen. I want someone who's going to get the absolute maximum best out of him.
I think their defense also had some questions this year. So, I don't know. You know, we get in this debate all the time, and, you know, is it the CEO or is it not? The two CEO coaches, does McDonald call the defensive plays? Vrabel doesn't. Vrabel, I think, is just it.
He is
such
good.
a great job in game. He was all over that yesterday on the Jared Stidham, looking like Rosie Bowen throwing a chest pass.
That was such a dumb decision.
Which is dumber, the Tennessee Titans letting Vrabel go, or the decision by Jarrett Stidham to try and two-hand shovel
easily.
it?
I know. Yeah. I just thought to myself, man, I know Colts fans have had it rough right now, but man, can you imagine Titans and Bills fans waking up today?
Man. Well, you got the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams got beat by the Seahawks yesterday, but you got them and the New England Patriots coming up. And I don't know, I like the 5 points for Seattle. Right now, they feel like a double-digit favorite to me.
Double digits?
I think the way that the Seattle's been playing on both sides of the football, like Stafford was on fire yesterday, and they came up big when they needed to, and they've been steamrolling lately some other teams defensively.
So you're saying they should be a double-digit favorite?
I'm saying if they're only giving me 5 points right now, I love that.
Well, that's different than
right.
double digits.
But I think they're going to win by 2 scores. That's what I'm saying. 2 scores is double digits.
If I'm going there, give me a couple weeks to decide.
Let's see what happens. Coming up in a moment, we will turn our attention to Friday night's big win for the Indiana Pacers, and where do they go from here? They've got a trade deadline coming up and all kinds of questions. We'll talk to Tony East about it as we continue on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hope it's going okay on your commute to work or wherever you have to be today. We think most schools are either closed or doing remote learning and things of that nature today. But if you do have to get out and about, I see even outside our windows more snowplows out there. It's probably going to be a while before they get to the secondary streets. The main streets have been plowed. Sun's coming up. It'll probably get better throughout the day. But just remember, as always, go slow, be kind, be patient, and everything's going to be okay. Let's talk some Pacers basketball here as we continue the Fan Morning Show with James Boyd and Kevin Bowen, Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. And our next guest, good friend of the show, Tony East. He, of course, all over the Indiana Pacers all the time for a couple of different outlets and a frequent guest here on our airwaves. Pacers coming off a big win on the road against the Oklahoma City on Friday night. Good morning, Tony. Hope you're safe, warm, and dry.
I am. I also dug myself out, but I didn't dig myself out to leave. I just did it to do it, which feels silly today, doesn't it?
Oh, James Boyd is proud of you on that one right there.
I guess I am. Just a little bit.
Hey, what were your thoughts on Friday night? I don't think any of us saw that one coming, the win over Oklahoma City, did we?
Yeah, one of the bigger upsets like in a long time in the NBA, right? A team with that low of a winning percentage beating a team with that high is exceedingly rare and unexpected, even if the Thunder are banged up. And, I just think that was kind of the vision they had for this year, is that kind of game where Siakam's going to get a bunch of attention and Andrew Nembhard's going to be point guard. And they both were great in that role, and they had young guys step up and fill bigger roles that they'll hope they can do next year. For once in a season full of just miserable games for the Pacers, everything they kind of hoped this year would be about all came together.
And Tony East with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Tony, we appreciate the time. On this Monday morning, we'll matinee it up for the Pacers. That was bumped up due to the weather in Atlanta, so 1:30 their tip time today as they conclude this I shouldn't say it's Western, but this road trip. Okay, let's talk trade deadline. I thought your podcast a couple weeks ago on Benedict Mathurin and trade value was particularly interesting. Guys that get to the end of their rookie contracts, expiring contract, what that can net in return. If you don't mind, could you kind of cliff note up? I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of people that listen to it, I think, would be surprised about how little in return some of those players got.
Yeah, that's a big part of the cliff notes, is just if you get to a point as a team where you have a player in the situation Ben Mathurin's in now, so the final year of their rookie contract, and they're on the trade market at all, there's usually a reason for that. And that reason is usually not that they're really, really good, and, someone you want to have a long time on a team, because restricted free agency is such a strong tool to keep a player and sign them to a potentially team-friendly contract that if, someone is the perfect fit or really, really fantastic for you, they don't get traded very often. And so in this realm of the current kind of CBA and what it means for teams, there hasn't even been a first-round pick exchanged for a player traded in that situation during the season. Some guys have gone for decent value. I think Rui Hachimura got, the Wizards got real stuff for him, for example, but not a first-round pick. It was a bunch of seconds and a useful rotation-level player. And I wanted to go through that just to see what like a baseline expectation should be for Benedict Mathurin, because the team that would be wanting to acquire him, of course, like the Pacers even, again, I'm not even saying the Pacers should want to trade him or anything like that, would know that he is good and would know that he has a lot of potential. I mean, his games to start this season, like, not that many guys in the NBA can even do that, and he's 22 or whatever he is. But at the same time, there's a reason that he'd be available, and you have to pay him in the summer. And that is the part that's tricky for other teams, is if he's a fairly paid player all of a sudden and you don't know what his potential is or how he fits in your building, it's harder for teams to commit as many assets to that. So I think that I wanted to go through that to see what the Pacers should expect or what is reasonable to kind of start as a baseline expectation for a trade. And it's not quite as high as you'd think, even in situations where, like with Rui or some other decent players, they're actually good or still in rotations to this day.
Okay, and then one more on the Mathurin front. I believe Jake Fisher had it reported that the Pacers, and again, clarify any of my language here, Tony, they would have some interest potentially in Yves Missi from the Pelicans. I don't know how household of a name that is to NBA fans, former first-round pick, but Could you explain a little bit on who he is? And again, clear up any language that I might have butchered there.
No, that was what was reported, and he was first round pick last year and started a bunch of games with the Pelicans, and then the Pelicans got new front office people and said, "No, you're going to come off the bench now." And they signed Kevon Looney, and they've played somebody that I bet very few people listening know, named Carlo Markovic, over him sometimes, which is not a glowing resume, but he is a good player. He's 6'11", he's moderately fast. He had a huge block on Pascal Siakam when the Pelicans were in Indy a couple weeks ago. Like, he does have some serious power and pop to his game. Good rebounder, but no spacing at all. He's never made a three in the NBA. His defense is still improving. Certainly there's a reason he was the 21st pick in the draft. Like, he'd be useful, and the fact that he's very young and is already a rotation quality player is, of course, appealing, because that means his contract is very good. And for the Pacers, that's meaningful, as they kind of are going to be navigating in the next 2-3 years of the, Halliburton Siakam contract life, and that might even extend beyond that, is they need cheap contributors, right? And he is one of those. He would have value to the Pacers at their position of, most question mark right now. But I would think, and, my initial reaction was I would think Ben Mather would have more trade value than him, and salary-wise, it would, the Pelicans would probably have to throw in a little bit more money. So I don't think that would be the complete framework of a deal, but there is good sense, at least, to the structure of starting with those two players, then figuring something out. And, hey, the last time the Pacers traded with the Pelicans, it worked out absolutely great for the Pacers.
So Tony, forget what they were talking about. I have the real questions here. I'm on tankathon.com. For the NBA, and the Pacers have the second worst record in the NBA. So assuming that the ping pong balls bounce the right way and they end up with a top 5 pick for, I believe, the first time in several years, I want to say decades, for this team, because even Benedict Mathurin a few years ago was number 6. Are you choosing the best player? Because I've had this debate online with Pacers fans, and they're like, oh, well, what if AJ DeBanza is a better fit than Darren Peterson, or Cam Boozer is a better fit than Caleb Wilson? But don't you just pick the best player if you're picking that high, regardless of the position?
Yeah, I think 1989 would be their last inside top 5 pick, and I agree 100% that you picked. I would pick the best player regardless of fit. The way this gets brought out the most to me is when I talk about Cam Boozer. People say, well, they have Obi, they have Pascal. Why would they want somebody at that spot if they're, even if they're the best player? It's like, maybe you'd be concerned about that for a year. Like, we just saw Jarris Walker go through this, right, where he was not in the rotation behind those exact 2 players in his first season with the Pacers, among other things. But, to me, you 100% you pick the best player, especially if at the top of this draft, as good as people say that these players are, if you think they're the best player and you think they're going to be the best player, you pick them and you figure it out how to play them on the floor or what their future could be. And I always say the same thing. The only player on the Pacers right now who was on the Pacers 5 years ago is T.J. McConnell. And I get that they weren't very good 5 years ago, but the NBA, your roster changes so fast nowadays, right? If you go back 5 years and then did the same exercise, there'll still be one guy. It's Miles Turner, right? So in 5 years from now, granted, the Pacers are very good right now, so they might want to keep some more of these guys than a typical situation. You're not going to have most of your team. It's just how it is, right? Everybody wants to get paid, or you make trades, whatever. Guys' situations today just change. So you want to have the best player on your team for as long as possible. And if that means picking somebody whose positional fit maybe right away on day one isn't as good, you still do it. So if they think Peterson's the best fit, they should do it. If they, whoever it is, if they get the top pick. And it's going to be weird to have to explain that after the Goga pick a few years ago, but I absolutely think that's what they should do.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because, I'll make sure to relay this message to AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson, Caleb Wilson, and a few others out there. I mean, hey, even Keaton Wagler, I'm not opposed to him being in a Pacers uniform.
Holy cow.
Just saying, Tony.
46 in Mackey? Unbelievable.
Well, I had to get something to cheer for after your school, beat the.
He's wearing the Illinois hoodie this morning, Tony.
There you go.
Oh my goodness. Well, you picked a good day to do it, I suppose, but that's amazing.
Tony, is there anyone? We talked so much Mathurin and Walker in regards to the trade deadline a week from Thursday. I mean, and understandably, they're again former top 10 picks, and you can debate their respective. I think their debates are very different, to be clear. But contractually, that obviously plays into some of it. Is there anyone else like on the team? Like, I get expiring contracts. This is not Turner from last year, Matherin this year. But like, is there anyone else that we should maybe be discussing a little bit more, or you're just generally curious about? Like, I feel like McConnell and Toppin's names occasionally pop up into some of this stuff. Is there anybody else we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, you always hear McConnell and Toppin just because they're that mid-sized contract player who doesn't start. So they always feel like they could get moved, but the Pacers rely on those guys so much that I wouldn't expect either of them. The guy I have my eye on, besides the two you said, would be Isaiah Jackson. Not that he's had a bad season per se. His numbers are almost exactly the same as last season in almost every way. And he's coming back from a torn Achilles, so reasonable to expect that the season that he's had a slower start and then playing better of late, but not necessarily awesome, especially after the concussion. It's just that he makes, $7 million is not a lot in the NBA. You can manage your way around that in terms of what it does to your cap sheet. But if you have Jay Huff above him in your rotational pecking order, or you're very often choosing Micah Potter above him in the rotational pecking order, and at some point in the next 8 months before next season starts, everybody assumes, including myself, that they will trade for a very high-level center. Okay, Isaiah Jackson making $7 million to be your third or fourth big does not make sense. Like, that contract, well, it's probably not an overpay, maybe a slight overpay. It's not one that the Pacers should want on their books. So the match there between what his role might become and what his salary isn't there. And so he's somebody that, if there's another team that views him as somebody they'd like to give a shot over the rest of his deal, or he could be salary in a trade for a player that does fit the Pacers either as their center now or just contractually a little better, he's, I think, besides the two lottery picks, the guy that I have my eye on as somebody that could be moved. In fact, I think it's he'd be closer to the top of my list of like guys that I'd be looking to move as the Pacers for that exact reason. Huff's already shown that he deserves more minutes than him now. So I think he's the third guy that I'd have my eye on, and he's pretty young still, so who knows what his value would be.
Tony, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and we've mentioned it a little bit before, but I want to get into it now, especially after what we saw on Friday night. I know the record's not there. We all know the injuries and everything and how it's worked out, but I feel like Rick Carlisle is coaching his butt off this year. What's your thought on his performance?
Yeah, I mean, you just saw an epic Carlisle game with a press break for the ages to close the first quarter, and they start the game with no center on the floor at all against the reigning champs who start Chet Holmgren, and it works great. And then they switch their rotation to the second half, so Micah Potter's playing a bunch because the Thunder changed their rotation. Like, that's all the stuff that anyone can see and spot, and that all worked very well for them against the best team in the NBA. And I just, all year his hand has been so horrible. Like, the injuries here, new player there. They're literally signing guys who aren't in the league to play that night in the rotation. Like, that's how injured they've been. No team's going to have a good record when that's the case. So I get that they've had some disaster moments where the bottom just falls out once a game in a specific quarter. But, I agree that with the assessment that he's done a pretty good job given what this season's been in terms of at least putting what I would consider capable lineups and making smart decisions to get the best groups on the floor and trying new things and figuring out what pairings might work both for this year and for future seasons. And I know there's a lot of stuff that I think fans would have hoped has happened this year that has not in terms of maybe young player development or especially the record, right? They're 11-35. That's not good. But given the hand they were dealt and what they've been trying to do, I think a lot more of the disappointment for me personally, at least, would fall on the players and on, the actual people on the court doing, what they're supposed to do for the Pacers to accomplish their goals. So I agree. I think Carlisle's done as well as he possibly can in a situation like this, or at least tried to put them in position to either have a better record or see more development. And now recently they are, right? They've been at least capably winning. I think they've won 5 of 9. They've been ahead in the fourth quarter, and I think 8 of their last 11 games, which they lose a lot of those. It's not the greatest compliment, but they're competitive in a lot of games now compared to where they were earlier in the season. That's a big sign, and their young guys are all playing much better. Shepard's making shots, Jarris Walker's doing everything, Johnny Furphy looks great. So all the stuff that they'd want this season to be about is now happening.
Well, you know what? The last thing I'll leave you with, Tony, is that I never got to put out my Wemby to Indy shirts because that didn't happen. But I'm thinking the bands in Indiana this year. Your thoughts?
He looks awesome, doesn't he? I mean, he's one of those guys, like, it's almost like Ace Bailey last year, but he looks a little better, where he makes 5 or 6 tough shots a game that you're just, like, so enamored by. Like, how on earth did he put that jumper in the basket or some of these shots through the net? But it's what he does, man. He looks great. I'm saying they should just go get anybody, right? Go get Wemby. I saw a funny picture, James, of after James Najee signed at Baylor, now Bediako's playing for Alabama. Victor Wembanyama in a Ball State shirt. Screw the rules. Just get anybody you want at any time.
I like it.
On the Pacers somehow.
Tony, where can they read your latest stuff?
Yes, a lot of trade stuff coming on the Forbes and Circle City Spin, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Tony East joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. Pacers break a losing streak. Nice win against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder made it interesting in the fourth quarter, but the Pacers made some key free throws down the stretch and did exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah, and they should have went to wherever the safe is in that arena and just took the trophy back with them to Indiana. Make it a traveling trophy.
I also was digging that two-handed slam that Jarris Walker had in the second half, too.
Well, you talk about free throws late. I mean, Walker was clanking them early and then hit some big ones to ice that game. So, again, to remind everybody that, especially those that are trapped inside today, Pacers-Hawks 1:30 tip time today. So that's been bumped up 6 hours. The Pacers are probably very happy about that. They can get home. Fingers crossed, of course. And then they will have a little bit of a homestand coming up here after this. But, yeah, longest road trip of the year concludes today. Hawks, I believe, no Risa Shea, Zachariah Risa Shea, the former number 1 pick. Porzingis banged up, and reminder, Trae Young, no longer a member of the Atlanta Hawks.
Also, the rest of the day for us, here as normal on the morning show, and then at noon, Jake will only have 1 hour today because we go to the Pacers pregame at 1, and then Eddie White will have the postgame show after the Pacers game with Atlanta. So John will be on sometime between 4:30 and 5. He will stay until 7, and then we have Inside IU at 7 o'clock. We've been talking about the weather and the commute. This is the first storm that's been affected by the new city rule because people were so upset last year. If there's 4 or more inches that falls, the city pays private contractors to plow priority 3 streets. In other words, all remaining public roads. It used to just be they take care of the main roads, and then after a day or two, they get to the secondary roads. Now, if there's 0 to 2 inches, they just do the main roads. If there's 2 to 4 inches, then they do the main roads and secondary roads. Secondary roads are things like Ritter Avenue, Southeastern, Ditch Road. But 4+ inches, they're now hiring private contractors to do everything.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, again, Jeff, I know you said this this morning, but just looking out our window here, you can see plows doing streets I would consider to be definite side streets already here. So thank you to everybody out there that's doing that, and hopefully, for all young parents out there, can we please get everybody back to school tomorrow?
You said everything worked. Great plan by Maddie yesterday, but then the kids ran through it in short order, right?
Great. Yeah. I mean, again, scavenger hunt, find something that starts with an L in the basement, find something soft that's upstairs. I mean, I thought it was brilliant. And next thing you know, 15 minutes later, we were done.
Hey, man, you got smart kids.
We have to come up with another activity?
You got smart kids. Now, I love my god kids. You get them a scavenger hunt. Might take a little longer.
All right, thumbs up, 7 up. Put your heads down.
Oh, thumbs up, 7 up. What a great game, Mark. Great game.
Is it a heads up, 7 up? What kind of bootleg version y'all playing? Thumbs up, 7 up? Is that what it's called?
Heads up, whatever it was. I don't know. I haven't been in elementary school in quite a few years, James.
I should give you a pass on that. Yeah.
And what they call an old.
You have 3 young girls? What'd you guys do cooped up in the house all weekend?
I told you I got out of Dodge before the AFC Championship game started. Mark, so I said I'll FaceTime you guys when I get to the hotel. See you later.
We're making all kinds of.
I'm not gonna lie. You had to do that because of your job, Mark, but that is the funniest thing in the world.
Oh, no, we were talking about...
Mark, fill the audience in on
man
what you were doing.
Ditched his family, and so, no, don't fill him in. He ditched his family and said, hey, I'm just not in a hotel. I'm not dealing with y'all.
So I'm just set some scene for you. On Friday, we get together. We're like, okay, what is our plan for weather and getting people in and out? Because we're a radio station. We don't go off the air. We have to stay up for people and everything.
Oh, boy.
And so originally we had weekenders that always do their job, ready to come in. And we thought, well, if it gets really bad and it's a problem for people getting into work on Monday, we need the big guns. We need the Mark Dykens. We need the Eddie Garrison. So we talked to those guys. Both of them quickly said, yeah, we'll do it. And now I understand why Mark made the decision that he made so quickly.
Well, I was already in for Sunday to do the IHSA pairing show, help out with that. And I was like, all right, I'm already there. I don't want to have to make that commute back. So like, well, we got the hotel. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'll get in a little early. And so, yeah, I left around probably 3 o'clock. And then, yeah, got here around 4 and then picked up Eddie from the hotel. Just came in here. And, yeah, I got to hear the power is still on at the house. And the girls are watching movies and all that stuff. I'm like, sounds good. I'm going to go hang out at the hotel by myself now.
Mark and Eddie in the hot tub last night till the wee hours of the morning.
I asked him. I told him I'd be down there. He didn't come down.
Solving all the world's
Did you mention
problems.
the word spooning in the first hour?
I said if we got stuck in the studio, if we got snowed in here, I had a wool blanket that I was willing
Mark,
to fetch out.
You need to tell them the story you told me this morning about how unprepared Eddie was going to the hotel.
I don't know if I chalk this up to Eddie just not having kids or whatever, but like I having been on many road trips and all that stuff, you have to have snacks and food and ready to go and this and that.
Oh boy!
And so we got to the station and Eddie was warming up some Easy Mac and he's like, yeah, this is all I have. I didn't bring anything else. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't bring anything else? He's like, well, I figured we can go to a restaurant afterwards. I looked around, I'm like, Eddie, there aren't any restaurants open, man. And I had like PB&Js and stuff like that. I'm like, if you need one, let me know. And so we drove around for
South Beach.
We drove around for like 5 minutes downtown. And I'm like, Eddie, nothing is open. And so then he went to the hotel restaurant and we sat and had some drinks and chatted and stuff. But I was like, yeah, he paid like $18 for a grilled cheese sandwich.
So in emergency situation, like JMV, myself, Jake, we had remote equipment that we could use from our homes if we needed to. But obviously, I didn't want to do that. I want to be in the studio with you guys. So I called you all last night. And big ups to you guys because I've got the Beast, the four-wheel drive Beast out today. It's got 170,000 miles on it, but it gets through the snow. It knows what it's doing, right? And I called both of you last night, and I said, hey, let me know. Because I know the side streets, I didn't know what the situation was. If you need me to stop and pick you up, I will do that. And both of you are like, no, I got it. And James, you even talked about you were going to walk in for a minute. I'm like, no, you're not.
I mean, I really could have.
But I'm not going to let you do that.
But yeah, I appreciate the offer, but we made it work.
And Kevin was like, no, I'm good. So both of them, everybody. But here's my favorite part about this today, Mark. Did you see what time James Boyd arrived at the studio this morning?
Timely. Earlier than Kevin Bowen.
Look, I haven't been late in like 6 months, man. I'm always on time.
Yeah. Show intro starts. Yeah. You're here.
Matter of fact, we're coming up on a year on the show. Only been late twice. I think 2 false starts in a whole year is fine.
No, stop.
That's reasonable. Everyone can't be like Kevin and be on time every day. Come on now. I'm a human.
Well, big time to all three of you for making it work, and we're happy to be coming to you this morning. And it doesn't look as bad as maybe we thought it might be. I remember there was a storm, gosh, I don't know, 2007, 2018, Kevin. It felt like it dropped a lot more snow in a short period of time.
Yeah, I thought I saw Sean Ash mention yesterday, the meteorologist, of course, here in town, most snow in I guess you call it a single snowstorm since 2014. I believe 11
maybe
inches was the official
at the airport. Yeah,
count there. And again, we'll continue to keep you updated. But as of right now, I mean, city tournaments move tomorrow 7:45. IU Purdue scheduled for 9 o'clock tomorrow in Bloomington. The southern part of the state, I think, is the area more to watch. It's kind of weird that we had Purdue host a men's and women's game Saturday and Sunday, no issues. Notre Dame hosted a men's and women's basketball game Saturday and Sunday. No issues. Again, it was the southern part. It's got drilled. I saw IU Indy. They had to postpone their game with Purdue Fort Wayne, their men's game yesterday. So we'll continue to keep you updated. But right now, knock on wood, just bundle up. It'll be cold, but I think we're good to go here moving forward.
All right, Mark, let's do a quick check down, and then we'll get back to talking about some football.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by the Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. March starts here. The Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships with NCAA tournament bids on the line. March 8th through 10th. Tickets and more at horizonleague.com/Indy.
Got a ways to go before we get to postseason basketball, but certainly we have arrived at the Super Bowl in the National Football League. Seattle taking on New England for Super Bowl 60. That'll be in Santa Clara a week after Sunday. Patriots beat the Broncos 10-7 in the AFC Championship game. Second half played completely in the snow, Kevin Bowen. And I thought Ramondre Stevenson and his ability to just keep kind of moving the chains and also the legs of Drake May probably made the difference for the New England Patriots, along with some big plays yesterday.
Well, Denver totally mismanaged the first half. I think you have to, honestly, as nerdy as it sounds, have somebody from a meteorology standpoint, realize, hey, it's going to snow a whole lot in the second half. Points. Let's get, as many as possible. If you have a 2-score lead with a backup quarterback and that defense, that could have been enough. Again, Stidham obviously made the horrific mistake there to get New England into that lone touchdown that they scored there. So, yeah, Denver fans, I think it'll be an offseason of what ifs. Obviously, the Bo Nix injury was huge, but still, they had an opportunity yesterday to win that.
The refs almost messed that up because it should have been a touchdown on the play, but instead the Patriots were awarded the ball, I think, inside the Denver 15 and then scored a couple of plays later. But anyway, 10-7, Patriots advance. They'll take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks beat the Rams by a score of 31-27. That was a fun game to watch, James Boyd.
Oh, yes. I enjoyed it. I feel like the football's been very good so far throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, Sam Darnold, 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'd just like to point out that both Drake May and Sam Darnold have more playoff wins than the Colts have since their last playoff win. It's been a while.
Oh, boy. When you put it like that.
Jump in the snow.
Been a while. All right, so that's the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, the Indiana Pacers coming off a couple of days where they didn't have to play, but a surprise win over Oklahoma City, 117-114. More importantly, today's game has been moved up from this evening to this afternoon in Atlanta. They will play the Hawks beginning at 1:30. Airtime, 1 o'clock here at 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. JMV will be on after Eddie White's postgame show here on The Fan. And we're getting ready for college basketball tomorrow night, Kevin, down at Assembly Hall, Purdue and Indiana.
John Fanta, the high energy of him, and Robbie Hummel, per usual, on the call tomorrow. So, yeah, 9 o'clock. I always kind of think one of the oddities, we'll look back on the Mike Woodson eras. I think he split with Matt Painter in those meetings. So, huge one for Indiana, and obviously big for Purdue as well.
And the Purdue women got a win over Indiana basketball. They're starting the upswing, and, man, it has been a tough season, Kevin, for the women's basketball team at Indiana. They have yet to win a Big Ten Conference basketball game.
Yeah, really bad. 0-9.
We got all these rules now. Bring back Grace Berger and Mackenzie Holmes.
0-9. So, yeah, not a good year for Terry Moore and company.
City tournament in high school basketball comes your way tomorrow night, not tonight, at Tech. It'll be Cathedral, Kevin Bowen. They always seem to be around the city championship game, and they'll be taking on Cecina this time around.
Yeah, it sounded like Ritter, really hung in there with Cathedral for quite a while on Saturday afternoon there. So Crispus Attucks dealing with some injuries. That was the other semifinal. Cecina, a rare appearance for them in the championships. Yeah, 7:45 tomorrow night. So if you want to go check out the city tournament and get home in time for Indiana Purdue, I think you could be able to do both of those.
All right. Anything else there one of you guys would like to throw in before we head to break? Good.
Probably should mention the Philip Rivers news. Diana Rossini, James, your colleague, had Philip Rivers withdrawing. I'll use that term. Withdrawing.
Use the real comment.
The Buffalo coaching search job.
You just love to get people in trouble, don't you?
So, Jeff, you think offense there? You don't think Lou Anarumo's got a shot?
I have no idea what Pagulas are thinking up there, but I would think when you see that Josh Allen is going to have a say in whoever the next head coach is, doesn't that tend to make you think offense?
Isn't their issue more defense?
I see what both of you guys are saying, but to Jeff's point, yeah, when you got the franchise quarterback sitting in on interviews.
Yeah, but Josh Allen isn't an idiot. He knows their defense is the issue.
It'd be interesting to see because to your point last week, we seem to see flip-flops. So you get an offensive coach that doesn't do all that well, you go get a defensive coach. You get a defensive coach that doesn't do all that well, you go get an offensive coach. And now you got the quarterback who will be involved in the decision-making. I think it's going to be one of the more fascinating things to watch.
Yeah, and then Pittsburgh went with the route that they did. So
yeah,
still several openings here as we now have approached, Senior Bowl, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl week.
All right, more in a moment on the National Football League as we continue. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The celebrities, low key, I be thinking she talking about me. Now I ain't no dummy to think I'm above criticism. So when I see something that's valid, I listen. But there's something about the Queen tone that's bothering me.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into the Fan Morning Show. As we get everybody on their way to work today, and I think this is a terrific idea. We talked about it a minute ago, but the city hiring a lot of private contractors to do the secondary streets and the side streets. And just based on what we can see out of our window for the couple of blocks that we can see, looks like there's snow. There's still a light layer of snow. But for the most part, it looks like they've plowed everything up around here.
Saw a guy in a John Deere lawnmower plowing our side street here. Is he a private contractor?
Possibly.
Is that Al? Is Al over here?
I don't know.
Jake Query.
Yeah, Jake Query. Maybe Jake's doing that.
Thing. But I will say the roads look better than they were just a few hours ago.
Considering I've seen Jake in a blanket at Colts camp, I can't imagine he's out here just plowing streets.
Now, I can always assume that there's somebody listening to us right now that's stuck on a side street going, what are you guys talking about?
Hey, well, travel safe, my friends.
Mm.
I will say, if I bring my Snuggie out for the last rendition of the Westfield training camp, Kevin, will you shame me?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
That was
pathetic by Jake. What was that?
1,000%.
60 degrees?
60 degrees, and it was like a light breeze, and I'm freezing.
Snuggie on us.
That's a little chilly, man. Hey, Jake, I'm with you, brother.
Is that the same day you picked up dog poop out there?
Animal dung, as I believe how I referred to it as. I don't know if that was the same day.
I ain't never heard of this story. What?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was grass clippings.
Grass clippings.
And why did you pick it up?
Just to make sure the field is clear. I mean, the Colts have enough injuries. I don't want anybody tripping over that.
Oh, boy. I hope they gave you some
Kevin's got all kinds of
compensation
jobs.
for that.
You got your side jobs. Kevin's got his side jobs.
Yeah, you got some side hustles for real, KB. I mean, if times is that bad, you know what? We got to get it together. Boss man, we got to talk some numbers.
Give him a job
here.
with Al.
I don't want my boy picking up, poop, trying to survive.
Got a text from somebody signed disgruntled in the snow. I feel like every football game that's been played since the Colts were eliminated is another indictment on the current general manager. Quarterbacks that were passed on either in the draft or free agency, the head coach hires that have been made either during or the same cycle or afterwards as our current coach. Seems like damning evidence. I hope that I am proven to be wrong, but expecting nothing more than more of the same or actually worse next year feels like the roster is a mess. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be numb to the situation, but I don't know if I'm watching these games thinking that. I probably already have enough on my mind that has led me to think that Chris Bauer doesn't deserve a 10th crack at building this roster. So I guess I don't, disagree with it. I don't know, Drake May, it's not like you passed on him per se, but yeah, I think there's plenty of evidence and reasons before the playoffs kicked off 3 weeks ago to be fed up and disappointed and however else disgruntled fan in the snow wants to label it.
Yeah, I just I watched the two quarterbacks last night, and Sam Darnold, we've talked about it a lot all morning. You've heard it on the national shows too. The last two seasons that he has played, not only has he won more games than any other quarterback over the last two seasons, but when he was with Minnesota, Justin Jefferson was considered the best receiver in the league. Who's been better than Jackson Smith and Big this year? And Jigba, thank you.
Yeah, honestly, I think the real gripe, if you want to continue to go down this path, the real gripe with these two teams playing the Super Bowl would be what they've done defensively. Like, that's Ballard's baby.
1,000%.
And that's a 9-year baby.
Yeah.
For quarterback, what he decided was more like opting for the Band-Aids. And I guess you could call Darnold that, certainly. Obviously, Drake May was, third overall pick? Like, I don't think Drake May falls into this boat, necessarily, if, the Colts screwed that up. The Colts missed on their own top 5 pick, but it's not like they passed on Drake May. You could say that they weren't, whatever.
Yeah, it's only his second year.
As big of a pursuit as Sam Darnold that maybe should have been there. But I think a lot of that is hindsight 2020, to be honest with you. But defensively, I think is a very real gripe. You look at both of these units, particularly New England. I don't think New England is the most highly invested defense by any means. And, obviously it's the first-year head coach. Not that Mike McDonald's been in Seattle for that much longer there. And not to act like Seattle's defense has crazy investment all over it either. But that, to me, would be the one that given how much Ballard has cared and has wanted to overhaul his own defense. And now what are we talking about with Joel Erickson, an hour and a half ago? Defense. It's kind of like, Ballard's, Mark's oldest that has spilled their milk, and Mark's saying, no, you clean it up. I mean, that's what the Colts have done. Some organizations say, no, someone else will clean it up. Mike Vrabel will clean up whatever. Belichick's lingering, issues there at the end, or, Mike McDonald, whatever, clean up the Pete Carroll era ending here. Whereas Carly Ursay-Gordon has said, no, Chris Ballard, I'm going to give you another chance to clean up your own mess.
Yeah, and certainly the edge is always going to be a discussion point here. But I do say this last offseason, he went and got 2 big-name free agent corners, a corner and a safety, and then he got another one in the middle of the season when he picked up Sauce Gardner. Just to be fair for the discussion, because I'm right with you guys and I'm right with the texter there, but to be fair to the discussion, he spent a lot of capital and money to try and get that defense better to the extent that he could this past year. Can we agree on that? Is that fair? I'm just trying to be fair here.
I see a defense that's ranked routinely in the bottom, whatever, of the NFL in points allowed. So, yeah.
But he took a swing. I guess my point is he took a swing.
Well, sure, but walk me through the first 8 years of building this defense. Can you read off all those moves? Can you read off all those draft picks? Do we want to go through the defensive draft picks at defensive end and corner?
And again, I'm not defending. I'm just making the conversation, trying to be both sides here.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but to an extent, I think it's also one of those things where you could say, well, he changed his ways. He did a lot of different things to bolster the secondary. But when you look at the pass rush and that defensive line, Kevin's laid it out profusely these last few weeks. They've invested a ton into the defensive line. And right now, the only player that you can confidently say has a long-term future here in Indianapolis is Laiatu Latu. The rest of them, and I'm not saying DeForest Buckner isn't a good player or Grover Stewart, but I don't know if those are long-term pieces anymore. Those guys are over 30. So when I look at that, it does give me a little hesitation to think, okay, what can you actually do to get this group better when you've tried so many different ways in the past?
Yeah, it's 1 to 2 pieces of positive evidence versus 9 or 10 of negative.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And also, assuming that they will draft another edge rusher, because, I would think you have to, given your limitations there. Why should anyone believe that they're going to develop here? You drafted a guy last year, JT Tuimoloau, who could not see the field. So, yeah, it's tough sledding right now for that unit.
Do we think that Latu took a big step forward this year, the second half of the season?
I think he took a step forward. I don't think it was that big, but I also think he's been a fine player so far, a pretty good player. But to be the first defensive player drafted in his class, he needs to be a dominant player. Now, will that come in year 3? We'll see. Might take a little while, but I do think they still need more from him. I know people go and bring up the 3 interceptions, but that to me is more an anomaly than something you can bank on. He might not have an interception for the rest of his career.
Yeah. And the only thing I point out with those interceptions, like the one where he just tipped the ball to himself and left that incredibly athletic play.
Oh, that was a great play. I don't want to discredit that, but at the same time,
yeah, give me
I want my defensive ends to
right.
get sacks. I will let the other guys get picks.
I guess my point on that is you see his athleticism sometimes and you think, how does that not translate into more pressure?
I just don't think he's strong enough, to be honest with you. But, hey, we'll see.
All right, coming up in a moment, we'll get our first blush look at all the odds for the Super Bowl that's coming up in just less than 2 weeks, Seattle and New England. We'll talk about it next.
Should we turn the camera, Landon? Kevin is going to go examine it.
Here's a nice piece of
Kevin, do not touch that.
Now that I look closer at it, you might be right there.
I have a trash bag. Do you want to pick it up? Somebody did not curb their animal. That is the bottom line.
Somebody please screenshot Kevin looking at poop on the YouTube chat, please.
That element, that's a turd.
Did that animal have a credential to get here? This is some exclusive access.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Winding up a Monday morning. Again, big ups to everybody for getting up early. Whoever had to go to work today or any tasks you needed to accomplish and you just trudged through it, man. Great job out of you. And we've been talking about it this morning. The workers who get up and plow the streets and make everything happen and make everything go, whether it's public, private, whatever. Thanks for keeping us moving, man. It takes a village, they say, to keep a city like this going. And I think, really, hats off to everybody who got up early and late yesterday to make the streets passable this morning. Great job out of everybody. It was pretty good, considering.
Hey, I'm thankful for sure. I mean, me and my Honda Civic, baby, we made it through, but only because the snow was plowed. You know, I'm not exactly sitting up too high in the Honda Civic.
All right, so here's the first odds, so to speak, lines, spreads from Super Bowl 60 coming up. We've got Seattle against New England. Already this morning, the line is down to 4.5. So maybe I'm seeing this thing wrong, but I like Seattle to cover that right now. The over-under 46.5. How do you feel about that one?
It's also one of the lower in quite some time there. Sam Darnold's also the first USC quarterback to start a Super Bowl. Is that real?
Yeah, I read that, and that was crazy to me. But
and then I didn't realize how big of an underdog New England was entering the season. I thought I read somewhere where they're like the third biggest preseason underdog in the last 50 years.
What I would like to know is how many teams start 0-2 and reach the Super Bowl. Like, things were looking bad in New England early on. I mean, granted, it's only 2 weeks, but teams that start 0-2 usually do not make the playoffs in the NFL, as crazy as that sounds. But it is true. It is a overwhelming majority of teams that start 0-2 do not make it. Which is why it was such a big deal for the Colts to finally win their season opener.
They've been playing
99 Rams, bigger odds preseason. They won, of course, greatest show on turf. And then the 21 Bengals and the 16 Falcons. That's pretty wild. New England preseason were 80-1 to win it all. So it's a little bit of like, you know, a little bit of IU football type of preseason odds. And now here they are.
Who's the best quarterback in this game?
Right now, today? He's probably still hurt, isn't he?
No, I'm saying who's the best quarterback in the Super Bowl?
Oh, okay.
Drake May or Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I think it's a good debate. You know, I don't think we've seen normal Drake May here in this postseason. I
Right.
also think he's been in some very inclement weather games that have impacted it. Certainly Darnold was cooking yesterday, and Darnold, you know, has had really nice moments. That's a good one, James. I don't. I don't know if I feel overwhelmingly convicted on either of them. I might say it's May, but certainly plenty of evidence would point to Darnold here with this playoff run.
Well, the odds makers think Sam Darnold is the favorite to be the Super Bowl MVP. Some of that is because the Seahawks are favored to win, quarterbacks winning teams. But I go back to what I've been saying. Like, I think he's found his game and who he is. You look at what he did with Minnesota last year. You look at what he's done with Seattle this year. He has lifted both of those offenses, in large part his play. And I think it's not a coincidence that last year Justin Jefferson was considered the best wide receiver in the league and that Jackson Smith-Njigba is probably the best wide receiver in this particular season. I think the quarterback has had something to do with that. The odds right now, Sam Darnold plus 130 to win the MVP, Drake May next at plus 235. And also I look at that spread, it's 4.5, but it's minus 230 on the money line, which makes me think on that spread that right now the odds makers are getting some juice from a lot of the New England fans that are out there.
I know we've mentioned Pacers up at 1:30 today. They bumped up that yesterday due to weather. So it's supposed to be 7:30 as they round out this road trip in Atlanta. 1:30 today. You've got some great college hoops tonight if you want to start to look ahead to the draft. Louisville, Duke, 7 o'clock there. So you've got, you know, a couple of top 10 picks in that matchup. And then for those that have not seen Arizona or BYU tonight, first off, Arizona looks like a team that could be here in Indy coming up first week of April.
Are they still undefeated?
I think that's a good question. Part of me says yes, but please feel free to double check me on that. And then BYU. It's Arizona at BYU. So obviously the BYU.
Yeah, they're 20-0, number one in the country.
Is AJ DeBanza. Yeah, I don't think we're entering. I don't know. Maybe we are entering undefeated. Well, I don't know. I feel like the Big 12 is just too good. And I mean, tonight is probably one of their toughest games of the season. Arizona at BYU. So AJ Devanza in that matchup there. So great national college hoops here, but maybe with some Pacers flavor on it tonight.
How you guys feel about? I know Michigan is ranked number 2 and they're steamrolling people. How do you feel about their chances of making the Final Four? They've certainly got talent, and we like what Dusty May is doing. But when you start thinking about what it takes to get to the Final Four, I mean, Arizona's just off the chains right now. We know that Hurley and UConn, they've got a lot of experience. I feel like Matt Painter and Purdue have as great a chance as anybody to get to the Final Four. I really like this Duke team. You think Michigan? I mean, they got their chances to get there, but in that lineup, how you feel about them getting to the Final Four?
Well, I mean, if anybody's got to see Illinois, as long as we got Keaton Wagler, we got a chance to knock them off, baby. That's all I got to say about that. I will say, random note I always think about when the Pacers are in Atlanta is that was when they traded for Tyrese Halliburton, that trade was made in Atlanta. I remember going to shoot around that morning, and DeMontis Sabonis was a member of the team, and that night he wasn't. Boy, how things have changed in the year since then.
Are you foreshadowing something?
Maybe we get our next Halliburton tonight in some blockbuster
Oh boy,
deal.
what I would be foreshadowing. This is not a report, but yeah, wouldn't that be something if they made a trade today of all days?
All right, so things have changed a little bit today. If you're just waking up or just joining us or tuning in for whatever reason now, Pacers game has been moved to 1:30 for a start time today because of expected weather in Atlanta. And so our pregame coverage starts at 1. So it'll be Jay Query from noon to 1. Then the Pacers broadcast begins at 1. We will have Eddie White with a postgame show for you. Then he'll turn it over to JMV somewhere between 4:45 and 5, I would guess. And then John will go until 7 p.m., at which time we will have Inside IU. So that's the change in what's happening a little bit later on today. As always, just be careful. Take care of yourselves. And if you're home working today or you're just home because they gave you the day off, if you're in school, enjoy it. Have fun. And we'll try to do that for you as well as we continue broadcasting.